This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Gold opened the day at $1,332. Silver opened at $15.84. And Bitcoin is trading around $3,932. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high-availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, journalists and advocates of press freedoms are once again directing outrage and criticism at Facebook for selectively censoring pages on its platform and refusing to explain the reason behind a decision that appears to many as a clear double standard applied to outlets critical of U.S. foreign policy and corporate interests. Activist Post reports that Facebook is under fire for shuttering 4 pages managed by the Berlin-based news and media company Mavic, after CNN reporters asked the social media giant about Mavic not disclosing that it's partly funded by the Russian government. In an interview with CNN, Mavic Chief Operating Officer J. Ray Sparks emphasized that Mavic is editorially independent from Russia Today, which the U.S. government has forced to register as a foreign agent, and pointed out that it's standard industry practice to not disclose ownership of a media producer on a Facebook page. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% off your purchase by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Find us online at snls.news and libertybeat.news. Your news now continues. It's been 3 weeks since the Houston Police Department fabricated information which led to a no-knock raid on an innocent couple's home. The botched raid left an innocent husband, an innocent wife, and their dog all murdered, as well as 4 cops shot. Now, the Free Thought Project reports the Houston Police Department is claiming they are taking steps to prevent future scenarios like this from happening by ceasing the use of no-knock raids. As the Free Thought Project reported over the weekend, after controversy and rumors swarmed the case, the Houston Police Department admitted that the entire raid was based on the lies of one of their own. The officer responsible for lying about the raid will likely be charged, but the charges remain unclear. Across the country, largely due to the failed drug war, police conduct more than 20,000 no-knock raids each year. Last week's publication of the final draft of the new EU copyright directive baffled and infuriated almost everyone, including the massive entertainment companies that lobbied for it, the artist groups who endorsed it only to have their interests stripped out of the final document, and the millions and millions of Europeans who had publicly called on lawmakers to fix grave deficiencies in the earlier drafts, only to find those deficiencies made even worse. Activist Post reports that Europeans aren't taking it lying down. With the final vote expected to come during the March 25th through 28th session, mere weeks before European elections, European activists are pouring the pressure onto their members of the European Parliament, letting them know their vote on the dreadful mess will be on everyone's mind during the election campaigns. The epicenter of the uprising is Germany, which is fitting, given that German MEP Axel Voss is almost single-handedly responsible for poisoning the directive with rules that will lead to mass surveillance and mass censorship, not to mention undermining much of Europe's tech sector. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
I pledge allegiance to good, kids. Now come and get your Ritalin.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in here. The toll-free number for you to take control of the airwaves is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord, on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And in the studio with you tonight, it's me, Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm back from Mexico.
Yay!
Just barely, though. And what I mean by that is I was detained for 3 whole hours.
Oh, this is going to be a good story.
The folks from Customs and Border Patrol. We'll get into that coming up here because, Laurel, you're actually an immigration attorney.
Yes.
So maybe you've heard stories like this before.
Sure, but they're usually foreign nationals.
Well, maybe you're wrong about that, actually. There's some surprising statistics on this, which we've covered in the past here on Free Talk Live. So now I have become the statistic that we have talked about here. We'll get into that coming up here in a little bit, but let's go first to the phones and the fun. In fact, we're starting out on Discord, where Ben Shapiro is. Oh, wait, no, that's what he's calling himself online. I think it's Ron, New York. Ron, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes.
Hey, it's by the way, this is the Ron who's called in on the phones on a previous occasion. I said, you know what? Something's up with the phone that you're using, so let's try Discord and see if it sounds better. And so far, it sounds a lot better. Go ahead with your thoughts.
So Bill Weld, the con artist, got in as a Republican. So
Bill Weld, that is the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party in the year 2016. He's a former Republican governor from the state of Massachusetts. So, I mean, just for listeners that don't know that name, because I sure as hell didn't know his name before 2016.
Yeah, and I was watching his announcement on C-SPAN, and Mr. Libertarian vice presidential nominee was making environmental regulations. The highlight of his campaign, he was talking about how great democracy is, and keep in mind this is the guy who ran as the number 2 on the Libertarian line for vice president. Just keep that in mind for a second.
But I mean, people need to understand this guy didn't actually run as a real libertarian. He ran as somebody calling himself a libertarian.
Well, of course, but they nominated him. That's what I'm saying.
It's pathetic. It's one of the reasons why I resigned from the Libertarian Party a decade ago, was because they had fallen away from their ideas of the non-aggression principle. In fact, I'm the only person, from what I can tell, who actually ever asked Bill Weld to talk about the non-aggression principle. Like, I specifically asked him about it to see what he would say, because he hadn't actually mentioned it in any of his campaign appearances, in any of his media coverage that he received during his campaign. So he had actually come here to Keene, New Hampshire, because, you know, New Hampshire is the first primary state. Politicians love to come here and, you know, press the flesh and kiss babies and, you know, make their appearances in public. As
Kamala Harris is already here.
Is she really?
Yep, she was here yesterday, I think.
She was in Keene or in New Hampshire?
In Concord.
Okay. So a lot of
That's
them end up
another
coming through
tyrant.
Keene through the primary. And so he came out. So I had a Daryl W. Perry for president sign, and I was holding it behind him in all the photos that, you know, that he was taking. So just kind of trying to troll him. Then I did ask him about the non-aggression principle, and to his credit, he did acknowledge that it was the I think his words were bedrock principle of the Libertarian Party. And that's true. Just unfortunate that that was the only time he mentioned it throughout his entire campaign. He spent more time talking about how friendly he was with Hillary Clinton than he did talking about the non-aggression principle.
Yeah. He was in love with Hillary Clinton. He was in bed because they worked together on.
They were
Watergate,
buddies.
so
Yeah, back in the 70s.
he was essentially an operative for Hillary Clinton who infiltrated the Libertarian Party. But you know what? I love that he's getting in as a Republican, because there's virtually no way he can win because he's already campaigning on a pro-choice pro-environmental regulations campaign stance. I mean, that's not going to help you win the Republican nomination. And people will say, oh, well, Trump wasn't a Republican, but he still ran on the Tea Party platform, and he was able to win by the grassroots. Bill Weld can't do that if he's just going to be a liberal Republican, and I'm glad he's running as a Republican because now you get to see him crash and burn, and it's going to be hilarious.
Well, yeah, but then he's just going to change back to libertarian, don't you think?
Yeah, but he might not win the nomination because right now I'm hearing talks that Justin Amash might run.
That's another Republican, so I'm not sure if that's any better.
And
maybe a little bit.
Even if you hate Justin Amash, I think it's pretty
I don't hate him. I don't know him. I don't hate anybody.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
I know some things about him. I know that
like
he's one of the more liberty-friendly Republicans in the Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder about some of these. I wonder about some of these purity tests, though. Like Trump isn't Republican enough. He's not a real Republican.
What is a real Republican?
Exactly. What's a real Republican? What's a real Democrat? What's a real libertarian?
Well, I can tell you what a real libertarian
I'm
is.
sure you could.
Yeah.
But I wonder, is it? I mean, if people lean in a certain direction, why isn't that enough?
It's not enough if you're a candidate. That's why. Because if you are running a political campaign, especially for president, then you need to be, at least with the libertarians, because with the Republicans and the Democrats, you're right, Laurel, there's no arbiter of what is a true Republican or a true Democrat. There's no, principle. These people don't have a principle. They wouldn't know a principle if it smacked them upside the head, and in the case of non-aggression principle, it never would. So in the Libertarian Party's camp, they have a principle. The party actually has a signing statement. When you join the party, you have to sign an agreement. So it's not like your typical political party where, you just sign up to register to vote and maybe send them $25 or whatever. Here you have to, the Libertarian Party, you have to sign a statement that says that I don't support or advocate the initiation of force to achieve political or social goals. And that is essentially the non-aggression principle in a few different words. And they don't stick to that. And any candidate that doesn't stick to that isn't a true libertarian. And the reason why you want an actual libertarian running for your presidential candidate is because they're the standard bearer. They're the candidate that the media, if they're going to pay attention to a libertarian in 2020, and they probably won't, but if they do pay attention to a libertarian candidate, odds are they're going to look to the presidential race.
Yeah, but I've heard you say that you think the post office uses force to run its daily business. So you seem to have this very broad definition of using force.
Well, the post office is one of the least offensive government agencies.
But it still does,
so I wouldn't choose the post office as an example. The post office benefits from force. So the post office, for instance, has, I think we got into this in detail on a recent show, so I don't want to get too detailed here. But they benefit from things like free rent, no property taxes. They benefit from, these other government mandates that force competition out of their sphere. So the first-class mail mandate that says that only the post office can deliver mail that's valued less than $1.
When we had this discussion,
that's a coercive marketplace,
right? When we had this discussion before, it was pointed out that only the post office can put mail into a mailbox.
That's another one. Yep.
And therefore, the post office uses force.
Well, no, that's one example. I'm giving you several examples where if they didn't have an agency of coercive force backing them up, then they would have to compete in a free marketplace. But the marketplace isn't free because a man with a gun will come along if they find you. If Laurel, you start going around and you're like, well, I want to advertise my immigration services in poor neighborhoods, but I don't want to actually spend the money to send direct mail. And so you just start walking around putting flyers in people's mailboxes. There's a chance that somebody at some point is going to find you doing that, and they're going to report you to the postal police. There are postal police, and then they will investigate you, and you'll be arrested. That's force.
The idea of don't use force to impose government rules and regulations, at first it sounds very reasonable, like, don't have people showing up at your door with a bunch of guns. But when you start saying, well, the post office uses force, then it seems like you're using a very, very broad definition.
No, it's not broad. It's just that their force is hidden away very cleverly. So it's important to point out where the force is so people can see it. Stand by, Ron. I know you were also calling about Bernie Sanders, so let's get into that coming up here as well. 855-450-FREE.
Smart Cash is a peer-to-peer digital currency that is fast, secure, and easy to use. Smart Cash also features smart rewards, a price stabilization mechanism, and a way to encourage long-term holding. Long-term holders are key to the project's success. You can earn smart rewards on any address for which you hold the private keys, which holds at least 1,000 smart for 1 month and does not make any outgoing transactions during that time. Smart rewards are distributed every 47,500 blocks to all eligible addresses. Learn more at smartcash.cc.
Do you operate a retail business and are looking for a solution for point-of-sale cryptocurrency acceptance? It's never been easier thanks to AnyPay.Global. There's no paperwork or approval process to open an account. If you already have a tablet at your cash register, you're almost done. Just sign up at AnyPay.Global. Drop your personal crypto wallet addresses in our setup page, and then load our app. That's it. You're accepting cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Dash at your store. Get started now at AnyPay.Global. That's AnyPay.Global. There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. LRN.fm now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll free. Bring up what you want. Our number here, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com, your premier source for everything Bitcoin related. It was fun seeing some of the Bitcoin.com guys over the weekend at Anarchapulco down in Acapulco, Mexico. There was a lot of fun to be had down in Acapulco until I got to JFK Airport on the way back, and then things became much less fun. I'll tell you about that coming up here, but that wasn't Bitcoin.com's fault. You can go to Bitcoin.com, and they'll help you choose a Bitcoin wallet, buy Bitcoin, and even show you where you can spend your Bitcoin. In fact, one of the agents who was pawing through my stuff was well aware of cryptocurrency. We can get into that later. Bitcoin.com. They got a Bitcoin forum. They got a news website and more. It's all there. A lot of it's free over at Bitcoin.com. Ian and Laurel in the studio here tonight as we go back to the phones and to Ron in New York on our Discord chat, which, by the way, listeners can join over at discord.lrn.fm. It is a way for you to interact with other Free Talk Live listeners, should you wish. It's there 24 hours a day. And more importantly, during the show at least, it's a way for you to call in and sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. Ron, you're back on Free Talk Live. You'd called in because you are obsessed with the 2020 presidential race. And,
I know.
And you wanted to comment on some of the latest developments. So go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I've probably been talking about the 2020 race since the day I was born, but yeah. So Comrade Sanders is running for president of the USSR.
Okay, he's old, isn't he? Isn't he? In his 80s?
Is he over
78?
78. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's in. So it looks like that the field is really getting crowded on the Democratic side.
Yep. 77 according to Google.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're saying that some people are saying, oh, they're probably going to have 2 debates for all the Democrats. I'm thinking they're probably going to have they're going to need to have 5 stages for these candidates.
Just give them a little time. They'll start making accusations against each other, and then people will be apologizing and dropping out of the race. It's just the way the Democrats operate these days.
Apologizing. I think they're Tulsi Gabbard had to apologize because she had these culturally conservative views back in 2000. Kamala Harris had to apologize because she locked sex workers in prison.
Jeez.
They're all. Oh, Elizabeth Warren had to apologize for the DNA test. They're all apologizing already.
Just give them a little time to crash and burn on their own.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think about Sanders?
Well, he's a communist. I mean,
I don't think he would say that. He'd say he's a socialist.
Whatever.
Okay.
As though there's some kind of real difference.
Yeah.
But well, I'm just glad, first of all, that Ocasio-Cortez can't run.
Because she's too young?
Basically, yeah.
She's too young, yeah. So I'm glad she can't run yet. But yeah. So I mean, I'm interested to see if Sanders, it's going to be like in Reagan in 1976, where he runs in the primary and then he loses, and then he runs 4 years later and beats the incumbent president, or if it's going to just be like Ron Paul, where he has a lot of grassroots support and he runs both times, but he's too grassroots and the establishment just shuts him
wasn't
up.
it a close call with him and Hillary? I mean, it was pretty close in 2016.
And he may have won. Right, exactly. She cheated. She had an agreement with the Democratic Party.
So if she doesn't jump in this time around, then maybe he does have a chance.
She might, though. She's a glutton for punishment.
Well, no, she's a glutton. I mean, all these people, these politicians are attention whores. I mean, they just
you kind of have to be in order to run.
Right.
Yeah.
They just love attention, and that's what Weld is doing over on the Republican side, the former Libertarian vice presidential candidate. I'm sure. I mean, I would almost be willing to bet that when he loses the Republican nomination, he'll rejoin the Libertarian Party and throw in his hat over there just so he can do it a second time, because the Libertarians don't pick their nominee until the summer of 2020. So the actual presidential primary is over at that point, which would mean Weld would fully be able to switch back and rejoin, and he'll have some excuse or whatever, and some people will buy it and others won't, and whether or not he'll actually get the nomination's another question. Hey, Ron,
he might not.
Yeah,
he might not, because
it'd be nice if the Libertarians actually picked somebody with some principles this time. Well,
they might, because in 2016, keep in mind, he was running against Larry Sharpe for the VP nomination in 2016. Larry Sharpe, nobody knew who he was. He had barely any money compared to Bill Weld. Bill Weld did end up winning, but he won by 82 votes. He won by 82 votes against a guy who nobody had heard of, who had virtually no money whatsoever.
I mean, it's not exactly a close race, but it isn't a huge gap either. Thanks for the call tonight, Ron. I appreciate it, because I think there are probably only 1,000 or 1,500 people attending that convention. It's not the largest convention in the world.
I am really terrified of Bernie Sanders.
Sorry, I just accidentally. I'm still kind of sleepy here, folks. I just accidentally hung up on our caller. There was a caller on the phone lines, and I, just out of force of habit, instead of hanging up on Ron on Discord, I actually hit the drop button on the caller.
So sorry.
Call back in, would you? I apologize about that.
Ian is really very, very tired.
I am a little sleepy.
He hasn't slept in a while.
No, but I did sleep. I mean, just, it was one of those traveling sleep deals where you try to get whatever winks you can, where you can, on whatever flight that you can. And then I grabbed another hour when I got home, and basically been traveling for the last 24 hours. Leaving Mexico I left the hotel at around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I got back here at about 4 o'clock today. And I would have gotten back 3 hours earlier if it hadn't been for the good folks of Customs and Border Protection there at the JFK airport. So the reason I went, I flew back to JFK, I've gone to Anarchapulco 3 times now, and this was the worst of all of the immigration experiences, by far. The most time-consuming, the absolute worst. And the first time I came back, went through Houston. There was a huge line of people there waiting to get through whatever bureaucracy they have to get through, right? Mostly just waiting in a line to see a bureaucrat who then stamps some forms or whatever, and then, maybe sends you for an extra screening, or maybe just sends you on your way. That's kind of how it seemed to work. Mm-hmm. And so there was a lot of waiting and a snaking line in Houston. And so the next time I had a chance to go through JFK early in the morning, and I thought, I want to try that out. So like a 5:30 a.m. arrival or whatever at JFK, which I'd never actually been to JFK before last year. And it was like super smooth sailing, got in, like nobody in line, because there's nobody there at 5:30 in the morning. There was we were the only plane that was disembarking. And so super smooth, put the paperwork in, go up, talk to the bureaucrat, stamp. Okay, they want to check your bag, no problem. You're done in 10, 20 minutes or something like that. This time, on the other hand, I went also to JFK at 5:30 in the morning. Again, super quiet. There's almost nobody there. I get through the initial phase of, looking at the first bureaucrat looks at you, you put your paperwork and all that in a relative short amount of time, 5 minutes. So I'm like, all right, this is going pretty good. Oh, no, you need to step over into this room. And that was where my 3-hour-long ordeal began with Customs and Border Protection this morning. We will tell you more about that. I'll tell you the rest of the story coming up here in moments. And yes, it can happen to you. And even if you're a U.S. citizen, there's actually tens of thousands of people that this happens to every single year. There's more coming up here. This is Free Talk Live.
Most of you know that heart disease is the #1 silent killer in the U.S. What if I told you for just $54.95 a month you could fight against heart disease naturally? At Heart and Body Extract, we've been helping thousands of people get back to a healthier heart. Don't just take my word for it. Check out all of the success stories at hbextract.com, or to order, call 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. hbextract.com. Don't risk it when you can take charge of it.
We pledge allegiance to one flag, and that flag is the American flag.
Did you know the official national American flag has never been manufactured for retail stores? The one that Americans fought and died for. The one symbol that represents our Constitution. Now you can be a part of this great movement that's never been seen before. Together, we'll recapture America. Call 1-877-383-4777 or visit theofficialflag.com. Theofficialflag.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can dial toll-free to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. Maybe you've got a customs hell story that you want to share, because I've got mine now. And, you know, they were not the nicest of bureaucrats in previous encounters, but in this particular encounter, it was quite unpleasant. We'll share that with you coming up here in moments. With you tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And for years, libertarians of all types have been looking for what now finally exists. It's liberty.menu. It's a directory of liberty-oriented businesses as well as digital content providers and events. You can rate and review, and there's even a bit of a social networking aspect so you can connect and share with others. It's liberty.menu, and if you are an individual who rejects the initiation of force and agrees to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle, you can go and put your ideas of voluntarism into action at liberty.menu and use code FTL to get a special badge. It's liberty.menu. Highly recommend you check that out. It's a very useful website, and I think it's very, very slick, and it's free, so really there's no reason not to do it. As we continue here, Alex did call back in, the gentleman that I accidentally hung up on before we even put his call on the air. Alex, you're back, or you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hi there, Ian, you scumbag. This is Alex Jones, and I want to confront you about your complacency with the globalists.
Okay, let me have it.
Yeah, I'll let you have it, boy. I'll let you have it in more ways than one, okay? Like behind my wife's back, which I'm not going to get into. Listen to me, you son of a pig, all right? You've not been saying one goddamn thing. I know you've been in Mexico, and I'll watch my language, you son of a pig. You've been in Mexico with Mark Edge. Oh, having fun, huh? Oh, yo tengo muy bien temporada, ahora. Right, all funny. Fun and games. I've had my operatives watching you, boy. And I want to say one thing. You're very good about anti-statism with the butthole cops that kick in minorities' faces and confiscate property unconstitutionally. Who cares about that, Ian? The problem is you're not speaking up for InfoWars. You're not speaking up for there, frat boy. And I want you to don't you laugh at me.
You know what?
I'll drive New Hampshire, rip your goddamn head off, boy.
Alex, you're getting really angry these days, and
I'll calm down.
Okay.
Jesus, Lord Almighty, pray with me. Psalm 29. Pray with me. Just tell me, Ian, what is your problem Why are you not standing up to Roger Stone, the InfoWar, and fellow libertarians? Tell me.
You know, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about Roger Stone. I haven't been following his case. I know that he's been targeted by the FBI, and maybe that's probably being done wrongfully. I suspect it is, given the FBI is involved. But I don't really know a whole lot about it. I don't follow it. But that said, Alex, we on Free Talk Live and me did stand up for Alex Jones and his right to free speech when he was targeted for the things that he has said. We may not agree with everything that Alex Jones says. In fact, a lot of it we disagree with. We've talked to Alex. Actually, the real Alex Jones has called this show in the past. And it's true. It's true. This, I'm going to guess, is Rev.
Yeah, I know it is. I know it is, Ian. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight, man.
I love interrupting. I'm Alex Jones. I'm a douche. I love interrupting.
Thanks for the call tonight. But when he was targeted for deplatforming, we definitely talked about that. And of course, if you own a platform, it's your purview. You get to decide who's on that platform.
And I should say deplatforming is an issue that's near and dear to my heart as well. And we've talked about it some when I've been on.
Yeah. But that said, I mean, it's private property. So if you've got a YouTube channel, Laurel.
Yes.
And what is the YouTube channel?
It is YouTube/C/Laurel's channel.
Laurel's channel. All right.
Yes.
So, anyway, if they want to pull you off for whatever reason, they can do it. It's their platform, and they don't have an obligation to provide you with that service. So I don't come at it from this is free speech perspective. I come at it from, well, this is an unfortunate decision for a business to make perspective. I think that, free speech is still a valuable thing, but I do understand and respect a private property owner's right to make a decision.
Well,
about
I think
that.
it's a contract theory. When you get on, they are allowing you to come on, and they allow you to create a channel. You have a contract, and unless you violate, yes, you do.
No, you don't.
You do a terms of service, and you have a contract.
Not the same thing as a contract. Terms
yes,
of service,
it is.
No,
yes, it is.
Terms of service don't have the same elements of a contract. What are the elements of a
contract? You
contract?
don't need a written contract in order to have a contract. You can, under contract theory, you can have an implied contract.
Okay, but that's not the same thing as a real contract.
It is a real contract. It's enforceable in court. Yes,
well,
it is.
To me, that doesn't matter. Okay, because
it matters a lot.
If here's why it's not. Here's another reason why it's not a contract. Because most terms of service have a term that say they can update the terms of service at any time either with or without notice to the customer. And so if the other side of the contract can change the terms of the contract at any time, you don't have a meeting of the minds, okay? You don't have any meaningful meeting of the minds or consideration. You don't even have a real other party. You've got a corporation.
You have Reliance because people are creating YouTube channels, and YouTube knows that people are getting their income from those YouTube channels. So YouTube has made a promise. People have relied on that promise. And if YouTube yanks the rug out from under them,
but they can do that anytime they want. It's in the terms of service.
No, they can't. That is a violation of contract theory.
It's in the terms. How can it violate a theory when it's written in the terms? You agreed to it by accepting the terms, right?
Well, you said it's a meeting of the minds. So
I said it's not a meeting of the minds. Contracts have to have a meeting of the minds, as I understand them. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe contracts don't require a meeting of the minds. If it's this implied contract, then that just means that the contract's whatever you think it is, which isn't really a contract.
But both parties know that when you're creating the YouTube channel, which anybody can come on and do, YouTube is encouraging people to make money from those channels.
But YouTube has no obligation to pay you.
They don't, but they have an obligation. They have an obligation to keep your channel open unless you violate those terms of service.
And they're going to claim you did. They're going to claim you posted hate speech or something like that.
Well, that's one of the problems is they're kicking people off without saying what exactly the violation was.
That's true. And I agree with you. I'm not saying I agree with YouTube's decisions here, but I'm just telling you it's not a contract.
It is a contract.
Okay, but it's not a contract in that it doesn't have the standard, what you're saying is, Laurel, you're saying it's a legal contract.
It's a legal contract.
Meaning that it's some kind of implied consent version of a contract.
It's Reliance.
That's not actually a real contract like what we would think of. Because
Reliance creates a contract.
If you and I... Okay, this is news to me. So if you are...
If it's reasonable for YouTube to know, if one can reasonably presume that YouTube knows people are going to financially rely on their YouTube channels, then YouTube is responsible for that reliance people have on it. It's not a crazy thing for people to be financially relying on.
Why don't they get held accountable to their contract then?
They're getting sued. It's going to be an FCC complaint is being filed by Lear Lesor. It's actually not against YouTube, but it is against Patreon because of similar practices for kicking people off of Patreon. But he's doing an FCC complaint because the different companies are in cahoots, and it's not just one company kicking people off.
So you're
it's
giving
not
me
a
another
contract
example
theory.
of that not being a contract. Okay, if you're saying that you have to go to a government agency, an outside agency, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, to complain about the way a company is behaving.
Fair enough. He's not filing the complaint under a contract theory. I do think Alex Jones should sue under a contract theory.
Okay. It would be interesting to see what happened in that particular case, because when I think of a contract, I think of, what is it, offer. There's certain elements to a contract, right? So there's like offer, there's consideration, meaning I make you an offer. Okay.
Right.
There's consideration, meaning that there's usually some sort of exchange. There's some sort of thing that's that's going to be paid for, or some sort of thing that's given in return for the contract, right? So those are two elements of the contract. Another one is meeting of the minds, and I'm forgetting what I feel like there's a fourth one. I didn't pull up research this before we talked about it.
Well, those are not the only ways you can create a contract. Those are some of the ways, and Reliance is another one.
Right. I'm talking about the one that most people think of a contract. They think of something that's a signed document.
Right.
And the reason why that a signed document is valuable is because it gets people on the same page. Right. There's a meeting of the minds. Right. Now, if you're talking about the sort of social contract of when you walk into a grocery store and you bag some fruit in the produce department, you're expected by society in sort of like a social contract to actually stop and pay for those things. There's nothing on the door that says you have to. You didn't sign an agreement saying that you have to, but most people are going to hold you accountable if you just say, well, look at this free fruit. There's a price on it, but it doesn't say I have to actually pay for it here or how I have to pay for it. So I'm just going to walk out and maybe I'll pay for it someday. More coming up here in moments. That's why it's good to write things down if you're serious.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Geico presents eyewitness interviews with inanimate objects.
This is Brian Bruno, live on the scene of a recent windstorm, here to describe the event, a chest of drawers.
There's a storm howling outside, so I thought I'd stay in and watch a rom-com. 5 minutes into the flick, a tree branch slams through the window.
Were you hurt?
I just got a scratch on my chest.
Your chest of drawers can't help you in a windstorm, but the Geico Insurance Agency can help you get covered for personal property damage. Call Geico to see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
If you're worried about your cholesterol, hear how others are taking charge with garlic.
My doctor said my cholesterol was borderline, but I've been taking garlic, and it works.
I've been taking garlic for years.
My pharmacist recommended garlic. He said there's an ingredient in garlic that helps maintain healthy cholesterol.
I take garlic every day. No garlic breath. Lots of people like you are choosing garlic to help maintain a healthy cholesterol. Garlic, it's cholesterol's natural enemy. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You dial toll free to bring up whatever you want here. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. Coming up, my CBP, always transposed as CBP, Customs and Border Patrol. We will get into what happened to me today at JFK Airport bright and early this morning, about 5:30 Eastern Time. We'll get into that. Ian and Laurel here in the studio. We'll also take your calls and thoughts about whatever you want to discuss. We just kind of went off on a side tangent here on contract law, which by no means do I claim to be an attorney, but you started saying that there's this thing called Reliance.
Well, it's promissory estoppel.
Okay, now that's getting even more legalese, because estoppel is definitely a legalese term. What does that mean?
Well, it's what I just explained. It's one party makes a promise to another party. The first party can reasonably presume that the second party will rely on that promise. The second party actually does rely on that promise. The first party doesn't come through. The second party has some sort of damages because the first party didn't do it, and those damages were reasonably foreseeable by the first party.
So, according to Wikipedia, for whatever that's worth, it does mention here that Reliance, because I did look for information about Reliance in contract law, and it says that under contract law, this is an article about Reliance damages, in a bilateral contract, two or more parties owe obligations to each other. Each party acts in reliance that the other party will fulfill their respective obligation. And so it's what you're saying is the case, but I think it's important to point out in a bilateral contract, meaning that you are in an agreement with another person. Right. So like in a rental situation, right, I'm relying on the owner of the house, if I'm the renter, to provide the house and not pull the carpet right out from under me for some ridiculous, non-contractual reason.
Or how about this one? You make a reservation at a hotel, you show up at the hotel, and suddenly they decide they don't like you. You haven't done anything wrong. They just decide they don't like you, and you can't stay at that hotel, and all the other hotels in the area are full. You made a reservation at that one. Can they do that? Or do they have to have a reason to kick you out?
Well, I think it would depend on what the contract said. So if the contract has a term saying that we can boot you out anytime we want for whatever reason we want to, you agreed to that, right? So, and that's where these YouTubes and Patreons and these others, they have exhaustive terms of service with all kinds of, caveats and loopholes and outs and things like that. For instance, I've had bank accounts closed on me on a number of occasions. And it's not because I did anything illegal with the accounts. It's because the bank didn't like something that I was doing. And they don't, for instance, like cash deposits at banks. Who knew? If you make too many cash deposits from too many locations, they'll close your account.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they won't tell you why either. So what they'll do is they'll send you a terse letter, and it's almost always the same. I mean, it's very similar wording in most of these, especially the large commercial banks. TD Bank, Bank of America. And the wording is almost always, there's a term in our contract that says we can break up with you at any time we want, and we don't have to tell you why. So this is us using that term. Bye-bye. Mm-hmm. And then if you try to call and ask them about it, then they will send you over. In TD Bank, they have what's called the demarketing department. So you've heard of a marketing department.
Sure.
This is the demarketing department. These are the people whose job it is to break up with you.
Right.
And they follow a script word for word. They will not. It's like talking to a robot, which is like, for me, if you've ever dealt with TD Bank before, it's an East Coast bank. For our listeners that are on the West Coast, you don't know about it. But it's actually originally, it's Toronto Dominion, so it's actually from Canada. Anyway, they've got a U.S., West Coast thing, or East Coast thing, so basically all the way down to Florida. And TD, in my opinion, is one of the better corporate banks as far as the customer experience. Like, they're always like jovial, they're always happy. There's like music playing. The clerks or the tellers are in a good mood and they're friendly, and it's like a decent corporate bank experience. But boy, let me tell you, that demarketing department, they are not friendly and they are not nice, and they are just, it's like talking to a robot. But they didn't have to explain themselves to me, because it was in the contract that said they didn't have to. So, even though I was relying on their services very heavily at that time to do what it was that I was doing, that didn't matter. And it was in the contract. So I'm not going to sue them over that. It's their account. They can close it whenever they want to.
Well, this is my thought on that. I think that people should be free to turn down any customer they want. If it's your own private business, you should be free to turn down a customer. But I think it's completely different to completely turn down a customer from the get-go than to enter into a contract with somebody and then leave it. Because you do have that agreement, you do have that reliance. And so now you are in a qualitatively different situation than if you had not accepted their business in the first place.
I think you have an argument there, and my prediction is that lawsuit, whoever it is that's suing Patreon or whatever, is going to fail. So I hope you'll keep us up to date on what happens in that case, because it sounds like you're paying closer attention than I will be.
Yes, actually, I think he'll prevail.
All right. Well, then we'll see what the judge says in that case. So the toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. And by the way, the article does mention this promissory estoppel claims. It says here, Reliance damages are the type of damages awarded in promissory estoppel claims, although they can be awarded in traditional contract breaches. This is appropriate because even if there's no bargain principle in the agreement, one party has relied on a promise and thus is damaged to the extent of their reliance. These damages must be proven with reasonable certainty. It's not enough that one party simply is guessing as to how much they are damaged. So, again, in the case of YouTube, they've changed their rules, right? So in as far as the payments that they make to people, because you were talking about, you're a YouTube creator, you're relying on them, you're used to them paying this amount every single month. But there was a situation probably like a year or two ago, probably more like 2 years ago, where a lot of their more popular and controversial performers had their paychecks cut dramatically. And that was back when YouTube decided, well, we're still going to give you some ad revenue, you more controversial people, but because you're controversial, we're not going to give you what you used to get. We're gonna save that ad money for more family-friendly style YouTube channels, and we're sorry, we're just changing our model. And it's there in our terms of service that say we can change it at any time, which is why, again, I say that, it's not a real contract, because if one party has it in their contract that they can change the terms anytime they want to, sometimes they don't even have to tell you about it. Sometimes they do, for whatever reason. They'll say, we'll notice you, and then they'll send you an email saying, we're updating our terms of service. And then they'll give you a whole other 20 pages, of terms of service that you can read through, because everybody reads those, right? Do you?
No.
And you're an attorney and you don't read the terms of service,
what was funny was Jack Dorsey went on Jack Dorsey does Twitter, and he went on
or the CEO.
Yeah, he's the CEO of Twitter. He went on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about how nobody ever reads the term of service. He says this is all spelled out in my term of service, and nobody ever reads it.
He was complaining.
And then Joe Rogan says, "Well, do you have like a YouTube account and a Facebook account?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he says, "Is there a term of service for those?" And he says, "I think so."
Did you read them?
Says, "Did you read them?" And he's like, "No."
That's awesome. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. So if you want to join us here, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. All right, so customs and border protection.
I want to hear all about it.
Is it border protection or border patrol?
It is customs and border protection, and then a subset of customs and border protection is border patrol.
Ah, okay. So this would have been customs and border protection. I don't think it was the patrol people because they're not patrolling anything. They're just in an airport.
Exactly.
So went through the initial stage. They said, you got to go over here in this room. So I went over into the room. Again, almost no one is there as far as like people who are trying to travel. And this room's full of chairs. And it's very, of course, very institutional, right? It felt like I was in a booking area at a jail.
It's called secondary. You were sent to secondary.
No, well...
It's called secondary inspection.
Okay, maybe it is, but I feel like I've had inspection outside of that area in the past. This is an area where they don't really have like a bunch of areas set up for secondary inspection. I think they have another area for that, if I recall my previous encounter at JFK. This is a room with a bunch of chairs in it and a countertop with a bunch of computers on it and a bunch of fat bureaucrats sitting behind the computers. And they say, all right, you just sit down, we'll call your name. So, again, almost no one is in the room. There's maybe like a handful of people in a room that can handle at least 50, maybe more. And so I'm sitting there waiting for them to, call my name. The first bureaucrat calls my name. I go up there. And she asked me a few questions. She wants to know about my name change because I changed my name back in 2014. She says, well, why did you change your name? I said, because I wanted to. And, there wasn't much else that she had to say. And she just, did whatever she had to do. She told me to go sit back down. And there's a lot of sitting and waiting in this story. A lot of it.
Because the government doesn't care about your time.
Right. Obviously not. And so, of course, I ended up missing my flight, and we'll tell you why coming up here in moments. It was a 3-hour-long detention at CBP. More coming up in moments, 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Hello. I am looking for a special soul from the GCN audience to hire to come to East Ridge, Tennessee, and take care of two peaceful, easygoing people, which are a sweet 95-year-old woman and her 60-year-old son. Terms would be free room and board, plus the use of all of our facilities here at home, in exchange for living with us and seeing to our needs. We must have someone that fits in well. We get along with most anybody and value those who like to do the same. We live in a suburb of the scenic city of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Please email Matt at peaceaboveall.net for additional information. Please include your informal resume stating your strengths and weaknesses and reasons you would make a dedicated caregiver. We would also offer to negotiate a nominal salary in addition to everything else. Again, please email matt@peaceaboveall.net. Thanks for responding.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Gold opened the day at $1,332. Silver opened at $15.84. And Bitcoin is trading around $3,932. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high-availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, journalists and advocates of press freedoms are once again directing outrage and criticism at Facebook for selectively censoring pages on its platform and refusing to explain the reason behind a decision that appears to many as a clear double standard applied to outlets critical of U.S. foreign policy and corporate interests. Activist Post reports that Facebook is under fire for shuttering 4 pages managed by the Berlin-based news and media company Mavic, after CNN reporters asked the social media giant about Mavic not disclosing that it's partly funded by the Russian government. In an interview with CNN, Mavic Chief Operating Officer J. Ray Sparks emphasized that Mavic is editorially independent from Russia Today, which the U.S. government has forced to register as a foreign agent, and pointed out that it's standard industry practice to not disclose ownership of a media producer on a Facebook page. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% off your purchase by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Find us online at snls.news and libertybeat.news. Your news now continues. It's been 3 weeks since the Houston Police Department fabricated information which led to a no-knock raid on an innocent couple's home. The botched raid left an innocent husband, an innocent wife, and their dog all murdered, as well as 4 cops shot. Now, the Free Thought Project reports the Houston Police Department is claiming they are taking steps to prevent future scenarios like this from happening by ceasing the use of no-knock raids. As the Free Thought Project reported over the weekend, after controversy and rumors swarmed the case, the Houston Police Department admitted that the entire raid was based on the lies of one of their own. The officer responsible for lying about the raid will likely be charged, but the charges remain unclear. Across the country, largely due to the failed drug war, police conduct more than 20,000 no-knock raids each year. Last week's publication of the final draft of the new EU copyright directive baffled and infuriated almost everyone, including the massive entertainment companies that lobbied for it, the artist groups who endorsed it only to have their interests stripped out of the final document, and the millions and millions of Europeans who had publicly called on lawmakers to fix grave deficiencies in the earlier drafts, only to find those deficiencies made even worse. Activist Post reports that Europeans aren't taking it lying down. With the final vote expected to come during the March 25th through 28th session, mere weeks before European elections, European activists are pouring the pressure onto their members of the European Parliament, letting them know their vote on the dreadful mess will be on everyone's mind during the election campaigns. The epicenter of the uprising is Germany, which is fitting, given that German MEP Axel Voss is almost single-handedly responsible for poisoning the directive with rules that will lead to mass surveillance and mass censorship, not to mention undermining much of Europe's tech sector. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
This is the Onion Week in Review. In a landmark 5-4 decision issued this Wednesday, the Supreme Court ruled to allow Americans to cram cash directly into politicians' mouths. The ruling, which effectively eradicates former prohibitions against stuffing checks and stacks of $100 bills straight down the throats, ears, and other orifices of presidential and congressional candidates, is expected to fundamentally alter the ways American politicians have large quantities of money shoved right into their bodies.
In football music news this week, the 1985 Chicago Bears reunite to record their first new material since the Super Bowl Shuffle. The group says the new material will be darker and more introspective than its Shuffle-era work.
And in this week's op-ed pages, a man asks why, if God exists, doesn't he throw us like a really sweet party? In other news, an increasing number of men feel pressured to accept realistic standards of female beauty. FedEx confirms that more than 600,000 people try to mail themselves each year. And a recovering alcoholic doesn't need friends to have a good time.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, launching into the second hour of the program here. You can join us, take control of the airwaves. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And we've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. With you tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And I am regaling you with the story from this morning at JFK Airport as I was coming back in from a wonderful week in Acapulco, Mexico. Actually, I was there for more than a week, close to 2. But
I hope you relaxed while you were there.
It was a lot of work, but it was, I don't know, it's somewhat relaxing work because, you're in Acapulco. But, we're there to work. We're there to broadcast. That's the point of being there. But it is a very, very nice place from which to broadcast. A lot warmer, for instance. And the people, of course, are very, very nice in Acapulco. Just wonderful folks. So the whole trip in Acapulco was great, with the exception of the Montezuma's Revenge that I came down with at one point. That was pretty awful. But nowhere near as awful as the 3 hours that I had to spend in the clutches of Customs and Border Protection this morning. And I'll get back into that story coming up here in moments, but we actually have former host of the Freedom Fiends, Michael W. Dean, is on the line. He is on our Discord server. Hello, Michael Dean.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, man.
They always say, how you doing? We know how you're doing. You're doing great. You're on radio.
Well, I'm not in a cage, so I'm doing all right.
Yeah, you're not in a cage. Yep. I'm doing all right. I'm recovering from sinus surgery, which is why I sound like this, which may help with some health issues I've had my whole life. Actually, it already is.
Cool.
But they found something in my nose that's been there for 50 years. It's like a battleship toy piece or something.
Nuh-uh. What?
Yeah, there's pictures of it on my website, on the Biptunia website. I'll send them to you guys.
Seriously?
Yeah.
For real? It's an actual battleship toy piece in your nose?
I don't know if it was a battleship toy piece. He didn't save it. He took an endoscopic picture of it. It's blue. He said it was actually about a 1/4 inch long, which is smaller than and it was not hollow, so it's not something from the bad old days.
I was gonna say you did snort a lot of stuff back in the day.
Actually, no, I shot a lot of stuff.
Oh, you shot it?
Really
Okay.
Much of a snorter, but I did if there weren't any. I've snorted a few things.
If you couldn't find a needle.
Yeah,
right?
It was solid. So
yeah.
Yep.
So wait, is it still up there, or did they retrieve the thing?
No, they removed it.
Okay, good.
Send you a picture.
All right.
When I get off the phone. So yeah, man, I'm calling about Lynn Ulbrich and the Benefit album I just put out for.
Lynn Ulbrich, for our listeners who don't know, who is she?
Yeah. Oh, you tell her. You talk.
Okay, fair enough.
You just saw her.
I did just see Lynn, and unfortunately, we didn't get to interview her this weekend because normally, we always interview Lynn. She kind of came down with some kind of throat bug or whatever. She lost her voice for a couple days, and I'm like, look, we don't want you to. She had to get up on stage and speak, so I'm like, look, I don't want you to have to speak to us and then get on stage and wear your voice out. So Mark's going to be down in Acapulco for the rest of the month, and Lynn's actually going to stay at Mark's house. So he's just going to record an interview with her at some point over the next week. So we will still hear from Lynn Ulbrich, who, for listeners that don't know, is the mother of Ross Ulbricht. She has been trying to get her son out of prison. He's in prison for a double life sentence plus 40 years for the dastardly crime of running a website on the internet, which, for listeners that don't know, it was the Silk Road, the world's first underground darknet marketplace website where you can buy and sell drugs and other things that the government doesn't want you to have. And they went after him big time. They punished him worse than anyone else that was involved with the Silk Road, including actual heroin dealers who got 5 to 10 years in prison, who might have actually contributed to people dying. But Ross Ulbricht just ran a website, and they punished him for it. So you have put together a benefit album? Did we lose you? Oh, Michael Dean has jumped out of that channel for some reason. It appears you might have accidentally jumped out of the channel there, Michael. I was recapping who Lynn Ulbricht was.
Good.
And
good.
I had said that you put together a benefit album. Tell us about it.
Yep. I actually muted myself. I never used Discord. I muted myself while sending you the link of the thing that was up my nose for decades.
Gotcha.
That later, it's do visual humor on the radio, but it's visual medical oddities that are true on the radio.
Don't show it to me, Ian.
Okay.
yeah. Trigger warning. It's it looks like surgery.
Grody. Yeah.
So I put together this record. It's a microtonal music album, benefit album. It's called Microtonal Freedom, a compilation benefit album for Lynn Ulbricht.
I don't know what microtonal music is.
Yeah.
Is that like...
Music does not use the 12-tone Western scale.
I'm not a musician, so I don't know what that means. Should I pull some up?
Some of it sounds, you should listen to some of it. You can listen to it on Spotify free.
It sounds like the name makes it sound like robot music. Is it like bloop, bloop, bloop?
No, you listen to robot music. No, that K-pop stuff.
Electronic music, you mean?
A lot of this sounds, this is a bunch of different, it's got blues, it's got classical, it's got rock, it's got EDM, it's got Nima Vidadi did a song.
Nima hell yeah.
Hip-hop song.
I love that guy.
Yeah, yep. And, there's some classical ambient math, punk, spoken folk, solo acoustic guitar.
That's really cool that you're getting back into the music thing, because for listeners that know you, as the host of Freedom Fiends, they certainly have heard you talk about your musical career in the I think the punk group, was it Punk Bomb?
Yeah.
The group Bomb?
Post-punk. Yeah.
Post-punk?
80s and 90s.
Yeah. And so that's cool. How do people find out more about this benefit album?
Well, you could Google it, called Microtonal Freedom. Compilation benefit album for Lynn Ulbricht.
Okay.
Or you can go to my site, Biptunia, Bravo, India, Papa, Tango, Uniform, November.
Losing you here.
Yeah, I think maybe since you're brand new to Discord, your voice activation might be set a little high as far as your triggering. So you may want to get into your settings after this call. But otherwise, you've been sounding pretty good. So Biptunia, Biptunia, I think is what you're getting to.
.com. Yeah, and it's the top right link.
Yeah, check your settings and pull your voice activation trigger down, because I think we're losing either that or we're just losing packets, one or the other. Hey, Michael, thanks for the call tonight, man. It's great to hear from you, and feel free to check in with us anytime. Always good to hear from a former talk show host who maybe someday will be a talk show host again, but I don't know. I got my hopes up for those kinds of things.
It was good meeting you.
Hey, thanks, brother.
Yep.
All right, there he is. Michael W. Dean used to, Laurel, since you're new around here, he used to host the overnight show on LRN.FM. So that's a tough time slot to be on the air, but you gotta love it if you want to do overnights in radio or
is that like a good 8 hours?
No. I think his show was 2 hours.
Still,
but it's in the smack in the middle of the the night. It was I think 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern time. So you gotta love being up late, and you reach an interesting, different audience at that time of day. So you can bring up anything that you want. For those of you just tuning in this morning at 5:30, I thought it was, could be smooth sailing going through JFK's Customs and Border Protection area. And there wasn't a line. There was no one there waiting. But that just means I smooth sailed right into a special examination area. I don't know if it was secondary, because the primary purpose was not to search bags in this area. The primary purpose was to deal with people who they wanted to have some sort of issue with. Because most of the other people in there were not getting their bags searched. In fact, no one else in that particular area was getting their bags searched. There were other people that were seated in this room. And
were you the only American?
I mean, if I'm judging by skin color,
any way you can, listening to what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I caught some of. There was a lady from Ghana, for instance, who was in there, and they sent her back to Ghana. They gave her a choice at one point. and this is after 2 hours of her sitting in there waiting around to finally some bureaucrat calls her up and he's like, all right, well, I'm going to give you a choice. You can either abandon your
application
visa
for entry
application, go back to Ghana and try again, or we can ban you for 5 years.
Right.
And
Take
so that
option
was,
number one.
Yeah, that was the choice that she had. And so she was from Ghana. There was somebody else in there. They walked a Asian woman in handcuffs at one point. There were a few different Middle Eastern folks who were brought in there. And so most people appeared to be, if, again, we're judging by skin color, not American, but that doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
So, but I was the only one there who was searched at any point, and I was in there for 3 hours that morning. Everybody else was just sort of talked to, had their papers stamped, and most of them were sent along on their way. A few of them were kind of held in another area where they were just waiting around for something to happen to them. More coming up here in moments about what happened to me. On the way, it's customs.
This is a cliffhanger.
A bunch of them.
She seems happier. Her fur is so much shinier, silkier, softer. She has really mellowed a lot.
Sheba is 105 lean pounds of shiny, smooth, happy dog for life.
The shedding has stopped. The itching has stopped.
Since 2001, we've helped more than 250,000 dogs get over their nutritional deficiency miseries.
And saved our customers bazillions in vet bills.
Everything we tried failed except the Dynovite.
Come to Dynovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
If you want the dog to be healthy, you got to feed it something healthy.
The omega-3 fatty acids, flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa, the digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Dynovite for life.
Don't let your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy.
Come to Dynovite for help.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Smart Cash is a peer-to-peer digital currency that is fast, secure, and easy to use. Smart Cash is building a foundation that can support daily transactions for people everywhere. One feature that sets Smart Cash apart is the Smart Hive governance model and how the community can vote to fund the best projects with block rewards stored in the Smart Hive project treasury. Unlike other cryptocurrencies with voting systems, Smart Cash allows everyone to participate. One smart equals one vote. Learn more at smartcash.cc.
You want to know the 37 items you must have to survive a crisis? Then I've got some good news for you. Former CIA officer and New York Times best-selling author Jason Hansen is now giving listeners a free copy of his book, The Escape Bag Blueprint, 37 Items You Must Have to Survive a Crisis. You can claim your copy at freeescapebook.com. Don't delay. Jason reveals the guns, knives, flashlights, and water filters that could save your life in an economic collapse or grid-down event. Get your free book today, freeescapebook.com. freeescapebook.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, bring up whatever you want to discuss. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. With you tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
855-450-3733. We've got video clips now. They're back, and it's thanks to Eric Freerock for coming out of retirement and putting these clips together again, because honestly, I don't have the time to spend on doing that stuff. Editing video is time consuming, and I've already got my day full.
I do a lot of editing videos for my YouTube channel, and yes, it is very time consuming.
Do you do any of graphics over top of your video as
a
well?
little bit, nothing
that takes
fancy.
even more time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's doing that for us, and he's doing a great job taking, some of the more interesting, hopefully, parts of the show and turning them into separate videos, because we do a 2-hour long, or it's a 3-hour radio show, but it's 2 hours once you cut down all the commercial breaks, and if you cut the breaks out, you cut the news, you cut the news breaks out, then it comes down to 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so he takes that 2-hour show and then takes what he considers to be the most interesting spots and makes them into shorter videos, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that.
Does he post them to YouTube? Or
yes, he does.
Cool.
In fact, you can go to clips.freetalklive.com, and that'll forward you right to his YouTube channel, because we're kind of helping him build up his YouTube channel, and he's helping us make these videos. So that's a way for you to share Free Talk Live without having to share an entire show with somebody. So if there's a topic that you think you want your friend or your family member or coworker to hear, you can just send them the video on clips.freetalklive.com, and then they can find out about the show through hearing just one topic. So it's an easy way to share some of the things we talk about. So check it out over at clips.freetalklive.com, and be sure you hit the subscribe button there. Before we continue with the calls, I do want to get at least into the meat, if not finish up the story at Cust, because I know one person wants to compare their story. So in order to compare stories,
we need to hear yours.
To hear this one first. So detained by Customs and Border Protection at JFK Airport, waiting around, talked to the first bureaucrat. She asked me a few questions about my name, because I did a legal name change here in New Hampshire back in 2014. And she says, well, why'd you do that? I said, because I wanted to. And, she accepted that answer. I went and I sat back down and then waited for a while longer. And a different bureaucrat, Officer Uzzi, Uzzi, approached me.
That's a great name.
Told me to come up. And he asked me some questions, and then I had to go back and wait some more. And eventually, he wanted to have me come back to another area where they had a table, and started going through my bag. So they had the Delta people retrieve my checked bag. So they brought my checked bag in. I had my backpack with me, and so he goes through the bags. And it was obviously not so much about searching the bags as it was finding electronic devices in the bags that they could then conduct an electronic search of. So they wanted to...
What are they worried that you're doing? I mean, you're so nonviolent and non-threatening, and you believe in peace, and...
Oh, well, I don't... Yeah, but I'm a government critic, so, I mean, I believe in peace, but I also want to see the end to the state. And
through non-aggression.
Yeah, of course.
It's not much of a threat.
Well, no, not an actual threat, not a violent threat in any way, shape, or form. But what they're doing here is something that is not uncommon. In 2017, they searched 29,000 devices, and that's up from 18,400 devices the year before. So we're talking about a dramatic increase, a 50% increase, basically, from one year to the next of these kinds of things. And we can get into more about what they do here. But essentially, the idea is that at the border, the argument from the government is, well, your constitutional rights don't apply. Now, of course, we as libertarians know rights don't come from the Constitution. You as a human being have rights, and the Constitution outlines some of those rights that the government's supposed to respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically the government's argument is, well, you're at the border, so you're not really in the United States, and even though you're a U.S. citizen, you don't really have those rights, so we're just going to do whatever we want. We'll search whatever we want, and you can't do anything about it.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
So that's their argument. And so, again, we've covered this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
In the last couple of years, we've definitely talked about this happening, especially around the time where we go to Anarchapulco. We'll bring this up, and we'll tell some of the stories about it. So I have become now part of the statistic that we've talked about. I've had this experience of being searched, and so I had a cell phone, I had a laptop, and I had a camera. So these are all three things that can have, things stored on them, things that can be searched. And they wanted to search through all of them. And knowing that this is a potential, right, knowing that this can happen at the border, I prepare for this. So I will go, when I go on the trip, I have a sanitized laptop. Now, that's not to say that there's anything illegal on my laptop. It's just
there's private
things that they don't need to know about.
Right.
So I have a sanitized version of the laptop, which is just a Linux install with a couple of web browsers and a remote desktop connection. So I can connect to my remote studio here and do things remotely if I need to. And that's all I've got on there. That's it. Over the last week, I might have downloaded a few things for working on a website or whatever, but there was basically nothing on the laptop. On the phone, it's still my phone, but I go through preparation of like logging out of things. I'll log out of the Google account, for instance. So if you were to open up my Gmail, there'd be nothing there. You can't read my instant messages. I've logged out, that kind of thing. So a semi-sanitized phone as well. I didn't think to sanitize the photos in the camera because there's nothing.
What was in the camera?
Just some pictures of things that I've taken over the last year or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Pictures of the dog, pictures of me and Mark at some convention or whatever. So, there was nothing there to really even sanitize. And so, I was prepared for this. So like on the way in, basically on the flight in, when you're still in Mexico, that's when I go ahead and I go through this process. And I've been doing this for the last couple of years, knowing that these things happen to people. And knowing that if it can happen to somebody else, it can happen to me, and it can happen to you.
Right. And as we were discussing earlier before we got on the air, this has happened to a couple of attorneys, and that brings up
people you know?
Well, at least one attorney that I know, but I know of it happening to other people. And one of the issues with that is that client files for attorneys, the government can't look at those. You can't even get
privilege there.
You can't. There's privilege. There's attorney-client privilege. You can't even get a subpoena, except in very, very particular circumstances. So I don't think that one has been settled yet. But the attorney,
there a suit on that?
I'm not sure. There probably is.
Because here's the problem: what if they're looking through your device without you present? Because that's what happened to me. It happened twice. What happened to me was 2 searches of the same device. So first, the uniformed bureaucrat searches through them, and I said to him, "I'd like to watch you conduct the search." And he was like, "That's fine, no problem."
And he did it without you?
No.
Oh,
he let me watch. He said it was fine. So I watched him conduct the search. And, he's going through the phone, and I'm watching him do what he does. He got my IMEI number, which is the unique number that is associated with the phone. And I think he got the serial number off of the phone as well. Got my model number and the serial number of the laptop that I had. And, was going through these devices and looking around for photographs. It's clear that's what he was looking for. And, I presume they were looking for child pornography because they raided this studio 3 years ago looking for the same thing and, confiscated 50 devices from the studio.
And found nothing.
How about have not charged anyone with anything. And I swear, I can't say for sure, but at one point I heard him talking with his manager in the manager's office because he kept going into the manager's office and consulting with him. And I swear I heard them say something about child porn coming out of there.
So frustrating.
So the initial search, they didn't find anything. So he says to me after more waiting, so after an hour and a half, he says, "You're free to go." But then I ended up staying for another hour and a half. I'll tell you what happened coming up.
Ted Anderson telling you about Jordan Rubin's Beyond Organic Green-Fed Raw Cheddar Artesian Cheese featuring whole milk created through ancient dairy breeding, unpasteurized, untreated whole milk on the same farm the cows graze, containing natural sources of omega-3s, CLA protein, calcium, probiotics, and enzymes. I have never tasted cheese this good, and you need to try it. Contact your Youngevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Blockit Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockitPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockitPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockitPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can dial toll-free to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. And that's where you can call in and sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. We're going to get to one of those calls coming up here in a moment, because we're talking about customs and border protection and your rights, which they'll say don't exist at the border. And I think that's unfortunate. But yet that is the current status quo. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, however, is challenging these, what they say are unconstitutional searches of electronic devices. I've got a detailed article about that. I don't know if we're going to get into it tonight, but it's very, very interesting what their case is. Basically saying it's one thing to search a bag. It's another thing to go through someone's phone, because it's not just clothes and, a bag of nuts or whatever it is that's in the bags, simple stuff. This is their entire livelihood in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. This is like, all their emails. This is photos in the thousands in some cases. There's so much information there, and they've got a bunch of different arguments. So we can get into that if we've got time. It's Ian here with you.
I'm Laurel.
Laurel, you're an immigration attorney. Now, as you pointed out earlier, you don't deal with this aspect.
Right. This is the U.S. citizen, and whether they can search you. It's a different stuff.
Right, but it is still something that a lot of people encounter. A shocking number of people, 29,000 people, according to thehill.com in an article published in December of last year, so fairly recent, looking at numbers from 2017. So we don't have the numbers from 2018 yet, so comparing 2016 to 2017 and the number of devices that were searched, 29,000 of them searched in 2017, up from 18,400 in 2016. So it's gone up dramatically, and they're doing it because they can, because there's nothing that has stopped them from doing it yet. And in my case, they did it twice. So after waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting in this just dreary, typical institutional room, I mean, for people that have been in a jail intake area, it's very much like that.
Or just a DMV. Feels like a jail intake sometimes.
Well, I mean, the waiting was similar as it would be with a DMV, except there was no line. So it would be even worse to be in this area at noon, because I was there at 5:30. And by the time I walked out, it was 3 hours later. It was like 8:34 or something like that when I walked out. And by that time, the main room with the kiosks that you check back in when you're coming back into the United States, that was packed. And when I walked in there, it was empty at 5:30. There was no one there. So I literally walked right up to the first window or whatever with the customs bureaucrat at it.
I've had clients tell me they were there for 8 hours.
Just waiting in the line?
Well, everything all together, including the questioning.
My God.
Yeah.
I mean, that is brutal. So that was just a regular encounter. Now imagine being in my situation where it took me 3 hours with a full room of people. This room was nearly empty. There was maybe 5 other people in the room that could seat about 50. So anyway, they go through my electronic devices in front of me, which was what I requested, and he had no problem with doing that, Officer Uzi in this particular case. And so I sit back down and I'm waiting, and then finally Officer Uzi calls me back up, and he says, all right, well, you're free to go, gives me my stuff back, got it all packed up. I start to head out. And then there's a bureaucrat from Customs right outside the door, and you've got to show him your paperwork so he knows that you can leave or something like that. And I'm about to do that, and he says, hold on. And then while I'm holding on, the other bureaucrat bellows for me to come back into the room. So I'm ordered back in. And then they're like, have a seat once again. And so now they're waiting for somebody else to release me, apparently. So apparently I wasn't free to go, even though I was told I was free to go. And
should have run. You should have run.
That usually is a bad plan, and I do not follow this attorney's advice in that particular case. That's not good advice. And by the way, every single bureaucrat here was armed, so you wouldn't have gotten far. And so I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and around this whole time, there's been these 2 men who are not uniformed, who've been kind of milling about, and so finally these 2 men zero in on me, and they want to look through the devices. So these are guys with a badge kind of hanging around a chain around their necks. So they look more like a cop, like a plainclothes cop. So the other ones were uniformed bureaucrat with customs. They're all customs. They're all customs agents, customs officers. And I specifically asked later on for their names, by the way. So I got a few of their names, but not all of them. Anyway, so these 2 plainclothes officers who seemed to know more about what they were doing as far as conducting an electronic search was concerned. So they'd clearly brought in some more professional experts on the matter. They wanted to go through the electronic devices as well. They said, put in your password, I'm like, well, I'll get you into the device. Or then I said, I'll get you into the device. And like, well, we want your password. I'm like, well, I don't want to give you my password. I'm willing to remove the password from the phone for you so you can just get into it. Because when you are faced with this situation, you basically have two choices from the research that I've done on this, from the discussions we've had over the years, is you can either give them access and let them do the search, or you can refuse. If you refuse, they will likely confiscate your device, and then good luck getting it back. It's probably going to be gone forever, or for enough months to where it will be worthless after that, right? Because like the 50 devices they've taken from this house, or the FBI in that case took from this studio 3 years ago, they haven't been returned. And if they ever do come back in another couple years or whatever, they're not going to be that. They're not going to be worth anything, or not worth much, because these are electronics we're talking about.
Yeah.
They're constantly being devalued in the marketplace. So do you want to keep your cell phone? If so, you got to let them in. Otherwise, they're just going to snatch it, and then they're going to, I guess, send you on their way once they're finally done with you, which they may extend your detention even longer just because they can, right? Oh, you didn't give us the device? Well, now you can sit there and wait all day. Right? So that's why I was saying I sanitize the devices as much as I can.
So that you can give them access.
So I can give them access, and there's not much that they can see. They can't get into my emails. I've logged out of those things. So like, all right, fine, here you go. And I said to them, look, I don't know you. And the guy was like, well, yeah, we don't know you either. And he acted like he understood that. But then they start to walk away, and I'm like, whoa, hey. I'd like to watch you go through this, please. I'd like to observe whatever search it is that you're going to conduct. And then he said something, just sort of had this blow-off line about, well, we gave you a piece of paper that explained this is our right as Border Patrol. This is our, we can do this, basically. And they walked off with my laptop and my cell phone.
So they can do it because they said they can do it.
Right.
That's how it works with the government.
Yeah. And I protested again. I was like, I would like to watch this happen. And they didn't care. They went away into some other room, spent at least probably a half hour, maybe even longer, searching through the phone. I know they didn't search the laptop again because it's a Linux. The laptop's encrypted, the hard drive's encrypted, and you have to put a password in to get into it. So I don't think they did anything with that because they didn't come back out and ask me for the laptop password. So they could have only really gone through the phone and the camera, which was strange.
Huh.
So then
they're looking for pictures.
They're looking for pictures, but they obviously didn't look on the laptop for whatever reason. So they come back out, or one of them comes back out. He hands over the devices to Officer Uzi again, and then they tell me, I'm free to go.
Were you free that time?
And actually, I asked them, am I free to go? And they said, yes, you are. And so I said, well, I'd like to get the names of the officers who conducted these searches. And she says, well, my name's Uzi because it's there on his patch, so that was obvious. And then the other supervisor gave me his name, and of course I asked what his first name is because bureaucrats hate it when you ask them their first names. He refused to give me his first name, and he refused initially to give me the names of the plainclothes officers who had conducted the second search. So I pressed him on it, and he finally relented and gave me the name of one of the two officers, and then he acted like he didn't know who the second officer was. So I wrote that information down, contacted the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who is currently in the midst of a lawsuit against CBP for this very particular thing that they're doing. I don't know if I'll be able to help them with their suit, but I figured they might want to know just in case because they've got 11 plaintiffs in that particular suit. We can tell you more about that coming up here. But if you want to comment, you're welcome to join us here. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So there you go. 3 hours in detention this morning at JFK Airport. More coming up on Free Talk Live.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite.
Dynavite for life.
Pick up 2 tubes of Doggo Suds.
Get the 3rd tube free.
Peppermint, tea tree, lavender, Doggo Sud shampoo.
Made with all-natural coconut, jojoba, aloe. Great for healthy skin and soft, shiny coats.
But no itchy, harsh chemicals.
Lather up, rinse away.
Try Doggo Suds. Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynavite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. Radio remains the most intimate of all forms of media. At home, at work, in the car, on smartphones. Over 90% of consumers still listen to radio every week. That makes choosing radio as a place to advertise your business one of the best decisions you can make. Email advertise@gcnlive.com and partner up with an experienced GCN representative. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
The United States of Empire is a book that claims the United States is the empire of the world. George Washington had warned us against foreign wars. The United States of Empire shows that World Wars I and II left England broken. Its former colony, the U.S., had to save the empire. Was there ever a vote? Who do we fight for? The deep state began with World War I. The United States of Empire by James Dunn. Available at Amazon Books.
It's the Onion Radio News. A new crispy snack cracker will ease the crushing pain of modern life. The dull, all-consuming ache of present-day existence will be slightly alleviated when Nabisco's breakthrough TC McCrispy's line of crackers arrives today. Available in regular, Garden Ranch, and Zesty Cheddar, the new crackers will flood consumers' bodies with fat, salt, and starch to produce a pleasing sensation of warmth and nourishment, momentarily freeing them from a relentless, crushing sense of profound grief. Mel Krychak is Nabisco's Director of Corporate Communications.
Our tasty new snack cracker will, if only for a few lovely moments, significantly lessen the hideously bleak and empty torment of modern life that festers in every solitary soul.
Nabisco expects most despair-riddled consumers to eat an entire box in one sitting. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free to bring up what you want. Our number here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. With you tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
Talking about the Customs and Border Protection, basically completely useless bureaucracy that is pointless. It was so tempting to just harangue these people, but I just kept quiet.
That's probably a good idea. That's what I would have told you.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, obviously, I've heard you have to answer their questions generally, but you said you're not sure about that.
I'm not sure, but I would recommend it as long as the questions are simple. Answer them, give a simple answer.
Right. I would only answer them if it had to do with the trip and my identity.
Yeah.
If it was something outside of that, that's outside of their purview. They only are there purportedly to determine whether I am the person I say I am and I came from the place where I say I came from.
Yeah. If they start asking you crazy questions,
Yeah. So those are the only kinds of questions they ask, and they didn't really ask that many questions. They just wanted to search my stuff.
My general advice to people: there's people who have a tendency to over-explain and say too much, and so
zip it.
I always say, think about what the question is that's being asked. Answer the question, but only answer the question, and don't add anything. Don't elaborate. Don't explain.
Correct.
Answer the question and then shut up.
That's good advice, period, when dealing with any government bureaucrat, whether they are Customs and Border Protection or the local cops. And Laurel is an attorney, so she can give legal advice.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. That's good advice there. So our toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. Just a couple other observations from my 3 hours in detention at Customs. Again, I was the only person that was being searched there, so that was not an area designed for search. They just took me back to a table somewhere where they, did a search. And this area was about harassing, immigrants who didn't have their paperwork, filed correctly or whatever. It's just a pointless bureaucracy with a pointless existence. And these bureaucrats in there, their attitude was, like your typical buddy bureaucrat attitude. They're like high-fiving each other coming in. They're telling stories about all the money that they're spending on fancy dinners and all kinds of just garbage that they're just chattering away about as they stand around and ruin people's lives was kind of the attitude that these people had in there.
I don't know that CBP ruins people's lives.
How about that lady from Ghana who
we don't know her whole story.
Doesn't matter. She had come there from Ghana and was sent back home over some kind of paperwork issue.
Right.
So, I mean, they didn't say you're a criminal. They would have put her in handcuffs if she were a criminal. They just sent her home. And
they wouldn't have arrested her if let's say she had criminal
came in
history.
handcuffs.
Okay.
There was an Asian woman who was walked in there in handcuffs. Now, again,
Fair
I don't
enough.
know her story either. I only know the little bits that I overheard. But
we have a caller about this, though, right?
Yeah, Gene, the Christian anarchist, is on the line. He says he's got a story like this too. Go ahead, Gene.
Hey, yeah, well, it's about 18 months ago, coming back from China, and I think it was San Francisco, or it might have been L.A., but they did the same thing to me. But that was mainly because I was complaining at the little booth there, where you go up to the booth and you got to answer the questions. And I was tired. I was wore out from a long trip, and I started complaining about their stupid machine not working properly. Where you go in and you're supposed to put your passport in and scan it and all that. I said, the crazy machine didn't even work. I said, why do you have those machines if you're not going to maintain them? And was complaining about it.
We're going to need you to step over here.
He didn't like that. So he pulled me over for secondary. Okay. He called another guy over and had me go in for that secondary. And I went back into that room, and there were about a dozen people in there. And they first of all, like you say, they make you sit on the bench and wait about 20 minutes before they even call you up. And then when they finally called me up, they started asking me some questions. I said, look, I live here. I was born here. I live here. I'm trying to go home. Are you trying to tell me that I can't go back into my own country? And he said, no, we're just asking this and investigating that. And I said, well, look, I said, I've already told you everything I'm going to tell you. I'm not answering any more of your questions. I said, I'm going to sit down. And if you want to know anything else, I'm going to call my attorney, and you can talk to my attorney. I'm not answering your questions. And they try to ask me some more questions, and I'd say, that sounds like a question. I said, I just told you I'm not answering any more questions. And then when I was sitting there in the chairs amongst all the other people, I started talking to them in the window, from about 6 or 8 feet away in a very loud voice, telling them what I thought about how they're becoming a police state and how the whole country is becoming a police state. And everybody in the room is listening to me. I'm just letting them have it. I'm ripping them up. And
let me interject. I do not recommend this for other people, but go on. I want to hear. I want to hear how this went.
I really did.
Well, but I was challenging them. I was challenging them. I said, here I am. I said, here's my hands. Put the cuffs on. Take me away. I said, I don't care if I miss my flight. I'll catch another flight. You're not putting me under any pressure by making me miss my flight. I said, you either charge me with something. If you got something on me, charge me and arrest me. If you don't have something on me, why aren't you letting me go out that door? And I was doing this for about every few minutes I would spout up again. And I was in there for a good 2.5 hours. And, I asked for the supervisor during that time, and the supervisor came out. And so the guy is sitting there with his computer keyboard, and he's typing things away in there, and the supervisor is behind him, and I'd talk to him. And then after a while, supervisor says to the guy with the keyboard, he says, "Well, you got anything on him?" He says, "Well, I got nothing here on this," and I said, "See," right, with a very loud voice, I was saying, "See there, he says he doesn't have anything on me. Why are you still keeping me here?" And, and I said, I'm not cooperating. And they still wanted me to calm down and behave. So finally they pulled my wife in because my wife said, "Well, if you just tell them this," I said, "I'm not telling them anything."
No, wait a minute. Where was your wife this whole time?
Oh, they separated us.
Right. That's what they did.
When they first took me back there, they separated us.
Where did they keep her?
She was just out there by the baggage, and I'd even sent her a text message saying, "Get on the plane and get out of here."
Oh, that's the other thing. They've got a no cell phones rule in this particular area.
Right.
I was going to say, I was surprised they let you have your cell phone.
Well, they found out I had it, and I was texting. And
they'll bellow at everybody as soon as they notice, and that's there's like at least 9 bureaucrats in that room, so it's not long before somebody pulls it. Almost everybody immediately pulls out their phone because that's just what people do these days. They don't notice the signage, and so everybody gets yelled at about it in that room.
So I challenged them, and they weren't, they didn't have anything on me. And I was telling them I'm not answering any more questions without my attorney. I told them I'll call my attorney right now if you want me to. And they said, they didn't want me to use my phone. And it was just, I was just being very, very unhappy and very loud. And the other people in there were listening to me, and I don't think they liked what I was saying. I'm glad they didn't like it. And they just kind of probably wanted to get rid of me after a while.
How long were you detained?
About 2.5 hours. Okay. Fortunately, we had about a 3.5 hour layover, so still made the flight.
Oh, good.
But wow. I was fully prepared to miss my flight. I said, you know what? I don't care about whether I make that flight or not.
Yeah. And you have no idea why they detained you. It's probably just because you complained about something, right?
Yeah, and then they wanted to know where I was. If I went anywhere else besides China, and so on and so forth. I think they thought maybe I was, doing some bad, evil dealings over in other countries.
Because China is such an unusual place for Americans to go to?
They always act like you're a suspect. I mean, they just treat you that way in these situations. And
just on my flight alone, there were probably 100 Americans coming back from China.
Sure,
exactly.
And mine wasn't random either. I mean, it was clearly not random. The manager or the supervisor in the department kept getting on the phone with somebody. You could hear him in his office dialing numbers and like talking to people. He was talking about my case clearly because the guy who was Officer Uzi, was in there with him at different points. So somebody was telling them, to do this.
But I kind of fall back on the guy on YouTube that says don't talk to the cops.
Yep,
and
good advice.
He says now that the only thing you should be saying is where I want to talk to my attorney. So after they asked me several questions and I didn't want to answer anymore, I didn't answer any more questions. I said, I want my attorney. I said, I can pull up his number and we can call him. And, once they heard that, they didn't want to.
Well, that's a good example then, Gene, because we were wondering earlier. I mean, both of us were wondering, Laurel, whether or not you could avoid, answering these questions by customs, and it sounded like you did avoid most of them. Which ones did you answer?
You can always avoid answering a question just by saying, "No, I ain't going to answer the question."
Right.
You don't need a legal. Right. You don't need a legal precedence to say I'm not answering your stupid question.
By the way, that will work for U.S. citizens. It's not going to work for foreign nationals. They'll get put back on the plane. Okay, you're not answering the questions. Fine, back on the plane.
Right. Good point. Gene, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you again because they have total control over that checkpoint, and it's not technically the United States yet, so they don't consider your rights having applied.
U.S. citizens have a right to enter. Foreign nationals don't.
We're coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
#1 international best-selling author Matthew David Hurtado's pain was simple. Lyme disease bankrupted him in 2009, watching bankers take everything from his family after building a 7-figure business from his couch. God called him to ministry to teach prosperity based on pain he could not tolerate in others' lives. IRS, creditors, car loans, debt. It's the Babylonian system, and you have to escape it before it's too late. Haven't you ever wanted to wake up from this nightmare? Matthew David's free quick study guide shows you what to do today to build lasting wealth in any economy. His discovery he made? It's all consciousness. Get Matthew's 7-figure quick study guide for clarity, certainty, and a proven strategy to build wealth once and for all. Visit escaperightnow.com. Do it now. It's free. escaperightnow.com for a prosperous future ahead with peace of mind. escaperightnow.com.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Gold opened the day at $1,332. Silver opened at $15.84, and Bitcoin is trading around $3,932. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, journalists and advocates of press freedoms are once again directing outrage and criticism at Facebook for selectively censoring pages on its platform and refusing to explain the reason behind a decision that appears to many as a clear double standard applied to outlets critical of U.S. foreign policy and corporate interests. Activist Post reports that Facebook is under fire for shuttering 4 pages managed by the Berlin-based news and media company Mavic, after CNN reporters asked the social media giant about Mavic not disclosing that it's partly funded by the Russian government. In an interview with CNN, Mavic Chief Operating Officer J. Ray Sparks emphasized that Mavic is editorially independent from Russia Today, which the U.S. government has forced to register as a foreign agent, and pointed out that it's standard industry practice to not disclose ownership of a media producer on a Facebook page. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% off your purchase by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Find us online at snls.news and libertybeat.news. Your news now continues. It's been 3 weeks since the Houston Police Department fabricated information which led to a no-knock raid on an innocent couple's home. The botched raid left an innocent husband, an innocent wife, and their dog all murdered, as well as 4 cops shot. Now, the Free Thought Project reports the Houston Police Department is claiming they are taking steps to prevent future scenarios like this from happening by ceasing the use of no-knock raids. As the Free Thought Project reported over the weekend, after controversy and rumors swarmed the case, the Houston Police Department admitted that the entire raid was based on the lies of one of their own. The officer responsible for lying about the raid will likely be charged, but the charges remain unclear. Across the country, largely due to the failed drug war, police conduct more than 20,000 no-knock raids each year. Last week's publication of the final draft of the new EU copyright directive baffled and infuriated almost everyone, including the massive entertainment companies that lobbied for it, the artist groups who endorsed it only to have their interests stripped out of the final document, and the millions and millions of Europeans who had publicly called on lawmakers to fix grave deficiencies in the earlier drafts, only to find those deficiencies made even worse. Activist Post reports that Europeans aren't taking it lying down. With the final vote expected to come during the March 25th through 28th session, mere weeks before European elections, European activists are pouring the pressure onto their members of the European Parliament, letting them know their vote on the dreadful mess will be on everyone's mind during the election campaigns. The epicenter of the uprising is Germany, which is fitting, given that German MEP Axel Voss is almost single-handedly responsible for poisoning the directive with rules that will lead to mass surveillance and mass censorship, not to mention undermining much of Europe's tech sector. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
We've made significant progress wiring the nation's schools for the internet, but we have to do more. Every child in America should have an internet-capable computer in their bedroom at home, preferably with a high-resolution webcam. I have been to children's chat rooms and have been shocked and disappointed to find they are frequently empty. Even when these youngsters do manage to find their way online, they lack the skills to do something as simple as pinpoint their location on Google Maps. I long for the day when someone can log onto the Nickelodeon under 13 chat room and type, "Hey, any kids in here like to play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon? I have a Nintendo at my house," and be overwhelmed with instant messages. Then I'll know we're doing our job supporting technology in this country.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Launching into the third hour of the program. You can dial in toll-free, and you can bring up anything that you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms, and you can call in about anything. That's the point of the show. We have been focusing on Customs and Border Protection here tonight. The invasion of your privacy that can happen at these checkpoints when you're coming back in from elsewhere as a U.S. citizen even. They can search through whatever it is they want, not just your bag, but also your electronic devices.
And incidentally, the previous caller said that he wanted to contact his attorney while he was in custody. You actually do not have the right to an attorney while you are in CBP custody at the airport or the border.
Wow.
Yes. So even U.S. citizens are not able. You can call your attorney. They might take your phone from you.
Yeah, they don't want you on your phone.
Sometimes,
they're very paranoid about that.
Sometimes CBP will speak to the attorney, but it is at their discretion, and usually they will not.
Well, you haven't been arrested, right? You're just detained,
right?
In that case, and in most cases, look, I'm not an attorney, but you are, Laurel. As I understand it, if you are being contacted and/or detained by an officer of the local police department, you're not arrested, so you don't have a right to an attorney until you're under arrest, right? Like if you're under detention, that means you're being investigated, that they purportedly have a reasonable articulable suspicion to detain you, but they haven't arrested you yet because they haven't found probable cause to arrest you. So therefore, they have the right to detain you in a way that restricts your access to things like your phone, which means you can't call your attorney in that case. So the I have a right to my attorney thing comes into play once you're arrested, as I understand it. So
Incidentally,
that's true elsewhere.
I looked it up, and the ACLU says what kinds of questions you have to answer at the airport.
Oh, thank you for that.
For U.S. citizens, the ACLU says you only have to answer questions establishing your identity and citizenship, in addition to customs-related questions. Like if you had a statue made of ivory, you're going to have to say where you got it.
Well, right, and another customs-related question that I was asked that I did answer was, how long were you in Mexico? Right, and that's one of those like standard questions. So like, I left on February 6th, and they just want to make sure that you're saying what it matches up with what they have on their files, for instance.
Refusal to answer other questions may cause delay.
Yep.
But officials may not deny your entry into the United States if you have established your identity and citizenship. But once again, it is different for foreign nationals. Unless you're a permanent resident, they have special rules. If you're a foreign national,
you got to answer everything they ask you,
or they'll put you back on the plane. Yeah. But for permanent residents, they have to let the permanent residents in, but they might take them in and put them in detention until they see an immigration judge.
So that's good advice, and the ACLU, of course, obviously knows what they're talking about. And a lot of that is also true at the internal checkpoints as well. I don't know how familiar you are with those, Laurel, but those
I usually just answer their questions. I mean, it's...
I will not answer their questions there, but some of that's true. Well, what I mean by that is if you don't answer their questions, they can detain you.
Yeah.
But for how long is the real question.
I say I answer the questions, but the questions, I mean, for me, and it may be because of my appearance, the question is, are you a U.S. citizen? I say yes, and then I go.
Yeah, I won't say yes to that because that's because you're part of the problem.
Oh, I'm part of the problem?
Yeah, because if people... Right, because you are essentially cooperating with these bureaucrats who are conducting arguably unconstitutional searches. At least the ACLU would make that argument. I think they're right about that, especially the internal ones. That's what I'm talking about here, the internals, not the actual border checkpoint, but the ones that are located within the United States, usually within 100 miles of the international border. And they act like, oh, it's just one question, it's no big deal. But that's the camel's nose under the tent. As people get used to being stopped, as people get used to being questioned, it's just one question. Well, it might become 2 questions. It might become 5 questions. It might become show us your papers, And so you have to stop the encroachment of government into your life as soon as it starts. And because most people just want to be let go, and Border Patrol knows this, because most people just want to get along with their day. They just want to make the connecting flight. They just want to get to where they're going. They're going to answer the question. 99 out of 100 people, probably 999 out of 1,000 people answer that question. And those who don't, well, they might get pulled over to secondary. They might be given a harder time. They might be forced to wait. There was an issue here in New Hampshire. They keep setting up the internal checkpoint in a little town called Woodstock. It's actually on the interstate where they do it, but it's in the North Country here. And there was a candidate for U.S. representative, Libertarian candidate Justin O'Donnell, who went through this checkpoint. And I mean, I have my critiques of how he handled it personally. I think that he should not have been arguing with these people because you're not going to convince the Border Patrol that you're right.
You just refuse to answer and then you shut up.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead, he kind of argued with them, and then they threatened him. They said that if you don't answer the question, we'll just sit you over here until you do. Now, that's not right. They're not supposed to do that. That is not the way they're supposed to behave. And the ACLU, he recorded videos. This is how we know what happened, right? So the ACLU looked at that video footage, and they actually conducted, the ACLU of New Hampshire conducted a seminar on Know Your Rights at Border Patrol checkpoints. And it was very, very good. I went there, recorded video of it. It's online. And this is not just for New Hampshire. This is good information for anybody inside the United States going through one of these internal checkpoints. So if you want to look it up, just go to the Free Keen channel on YouTube and search for ACLU border checkpoint, and the video will come up. Very, very good stuff. Good information on what you can and can't do, what you should and shouldn't say, and how to handle it if you are going to refuse to answer that question. Very, very useful stuff. In our case, when we went through, it was during Fork Fest of last year, which is the the Summertime Camping Festival that happens. It's decentralized. It's right before, it's the 5 days before Pork Fest, and so it's going to happen this year as well. But they just so happen to set up the internal checkpoint during Fork Fest. So we were about an hour's drive away.
It's
from
fun
this
for
place.
everybody.
Yeah, well, this is how libertarian activists in New Hampshire, some of us actually do have fun. We're like, all right, let's go through it. So 5 of us got together in the RAV that I drive, and we had multiple video cameras, and we roll up to this checkpoint. So of course there's video of this. We roll up to the checkpoint. And as we're rolling up, now it's slow because they're literally stopping everyone. This isn't like a DUI check where they're authorized to stop every X car, right? So like they let some through, but they stop some. At this one, they stop every single car and they ask them that question. So it's slow going. We're finally, we're getting closer. They're walking a dog down between the lines of the cars. Very intimidating. And they've got a bunch of men. They're set up there on the side of the road, and they're waving the flag and everything. And so as we roll up, one of them waves or like nods or salutes us or whatever, and then another one notices the camera pointing out the window, and he yells, he vocalizes that, hey, these guys have a camera. And so as we pull up to the guy who's asking the questions, he asks a question. He says, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" And I forget what I said. I said something like, "I don't answer questions," or something like that. And then he said, "All right, well, I'm going to need you to pull over here into secondary." I says, "Is that an order, or are you just requesting that I pull over into secondary?" He says, "That's an order. You're going to need to pull over here." So I'm like, "All right." And so I was just trying to make sure, because a lot of times when a government bureaucrat says something to you,
they'll
like
say
the
it was a
police.
request later on.
Right.
Like, I didn't order them. They, I suggested it and they did it.
Right. And they have ways of saying things that sound like orders, but they're not actually orders. So like when a government police officer says, "I'm going to have to ask you to search your car." They're standing in front of you, looming over you with their hand on their gun. "I'm going to have to ask you to search your car, Laurel." Well, what does that sound like? It sounds like an order. It sounds like I have to search your car, but he is actually saying I'm going to have to ask, meaning I don't have any probable cause to conduct a search, so I have to ask you for your permission. That's literally what they're saying, but the average person doesn't hear it that way, so that's why it's okay. You can always ask a question to clarify these bureaucrats. So I start to pull over slowly across the lane of traffic, and that's when the other supervisor literally yells at his underling and says, "Nope. Camera, move them on." And so we did not have to pull into secondary, thanks to
So there you go. Bring
thanks
a camera.
to the freedom of the press. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
You want to know the 37 items you must have to survive a crisis? Then I've got some good news for you. Former CIA officer and New York Times best-selling author Jason Hansen is now giving listeners a free copy of his book, The Escape Bag Blueprint, 37 Items You Must Have to Survive a Crisis. You can claim your copy at freeescapebook.com. Don't delay. Jason reveals the guns, knives, flashlights, and water filters that could save your life in an economic collapse or grid-down event. Get your free book today, freeescapebook.com. freeescapebook.com.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, Mark at freetalklive.com.
Smart Cash is a peer-to-peer digital currency that is fast, secure, and easy to use. Smart Cash also features smart rewards, a price stabilization mechanism, and a way to encourage long-term holding. Long-term holders are key to the project's success. You can earn smart rewards on any address for which you hold the private keys, which holds at least 1,000 smart for 1 month and does not make any outgoing transactions during that time. Smart rewards are distributed every 47,500 blocks to all eligible addresses. Learn more at smartcash.cc.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Boost Kid Essentials Nutritionally Complete Drink, providing your picky eater with essential nutrition and great taste in one drink. Visit us at kidessentials.com. To make sure your kids eat healthy, follow the 5-a-day plan. Serve 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit daily. Remember, a serving could just mean a piece of fruit or a half cup of veggies. If your kids are picky eaters, ask a nutritionist about other sources. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll free and bring up anything you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE like freedom, 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Head over to discord.lrn.fm. And big thanks to Travis, who is a Free Talk Live Gold Amplifier. He is somebody who helps support what we do here on Free Talk Live to the tune of $10 a month. In his case, that's what it means to be a Gold Amplifier. But all we ask for is $5 a month. And whether you do 10 or 5, you get the same perks. So we appreciate people that do more, but if you can only do 5, that's still really awesome. And you get all the benefits by going to amp.freetalklive.com. You can sign up with PayPal, credit card, or Bitcoin BTC. And again, you get some perks and you help us out. You help us advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live. And we can get on more radio stations around the country as you do that over at amp.freetalklive.com. Let's go to the phones. To the phone, we got Dave in New Hampshire. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Laurel.
All right, gentlemen. And Laurel?
Yes.
There is something that's happened recently. It's one of those, at the State House, it's one of those only in New Hampshire types of things.
All right, let's hear it.
There is there were 2 attempts to put gun bills through that would either restrict guns in schools or they would allow schools to restrict guns.
Wait a minute. Guns?
And,
wait. Guns aren't already restricted in schools in New Hampshire?
Well, there are some restrictions, but it's not. There's no state law that says you can't bring a firearm into a school building. So, I think many teachers quietly do this, and parents probably just.
That's not federal?
When they go in.
Like the gun-free school zone
There's a federal rule or law that apparently is not, last I checked, has not been challenged that says you can't have one, but
okay.
I don't think it's ever been enforced or challenged.
Huh. All right. That's cool. So what happened?
Anyway, what happened is they were having a hearing to discuss one of these gun bills. I don't know which one it was. It was either the full-blown, making it illegal, or just the one that would let the school districts make their own policies. But apparently, the New Hampshire School Board Association showed up, and everyone's groaning, thinking they're going to try to take my freedom away. They testified against one of these bills, apparently, according to Granite Grok.
The government bureaucrats that run the schools, their organization testified against it?
Well, that's what Granite Grok is reporting.
Uh-huh.
And I read the article, the Granite Grok article, and it was a little bit convoluted, so I couldn't tell exactly what did happen. But they're reporting that the School Board Association testified in favor of our freedom in some form or fashion.
All right, so
yay, New Hampshire!
Okay, according to Wikipedia, the Gun-Free School Zones Act, GFZSA, is an act of the U.S. Congress prohibiting any unauthorized individual from knowingly possessing a loaded or unsecured firearm at a place that the individual knows or has reasonable cause to believe in a school zone as defined by 18 U.S.C. blah, blah, blah. The law applies to public, private, and parochial elementary schools and high schools, and to non-private property within 1,000 feet of them. It provides that the states and their political subdivisions may issue licenses that exempt the licensed individuals from the prohibition. So perhaps the license in New Hampshire exempts you from the Gun-Free School Zone Act?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
This is not legal advice. We're just asking questions.
I don't know this one either, because you don't have to get a license to get a gun. It's just for concealed carry, right?
In New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire. But if, again, we're speculating here, right, based on just a paragraph in Wikipedia.
Right.
If there's an exemption here, and it says there is, if a local state authorizes a licensed individual, then they can go on a school campus and not be in violation of the gun-free school zone. So that might be one of the reasons to have a license, is if you want to carry a gun on a school property.
Right. So a teacher might want to do that. Or a parent. Yeah.
All right. So, Dave, was that the good news? Was that the bureaucrats themselves were testifying against the prohibition?
If Granite Grok's story is correct, that's true.
They tend to be pretty decent, I think, in my recollection.
Yeah, they're really active lately too. It seems like I'm seeing an article from them every 5 hours or so.
Wow, good for them. All right. Anything else you want to share?
I guess I should clarify, since we've been talking about them so much, they're sort of a conservative libertarian bloc in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Dave, was that it?
That is all.
All right, thanks for the call. That's Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com. He is definitely in the know when it comes to some of the activist things going on here in New Hampshire. Let's talk to David in New Mexico. So, different Dave. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how are you tan line?
I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the sun, so I don't know if I've.
No, you look the same.
Darker.
You're not tan.
Ian doesn't tan. He's
I think he just doesn't go outside.
No, I mean I was getting a little burnt the first couple of days, so I started to avoid going out in the sun too much.
Let's make use of your pal there, or the lawyer experience. Tell me, assess this. So I just looked at my email to get a date. It was back in this time in 2018 that the court-appointed attorney that I was assigned decided he didn't like me and he wanted to quit. Day one, he hadn't even started. He just entered his appearance, and then he didn't like my style, and so he wanted to quit, which means that he would have to file a withdrawal, and then the court would have to appoint a replacement. And so that was in February of 2018, and he finally filed his actual motion to the court, followed up by an order for the judge to sign to excuse him and withdraw from the case, and that was back in October of 2018.
So it took him 8 months?
Yeah. And in the interim, I filed a bar bitch on him at the suggestion of a unnamed attorney to remain unnamed, because the attorney fears her own legal system, that if she suggested to me to file a bar bitch on this
bar complaint,
this attorney,
right?
Well, yeah, her own language was bar bitch, and don't tell him I said bar bitch is what she said.
Yeah.
Is what she said.
I've actually never heard it called that, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, and this is New Mexico. There's more people are probably more inspired to call it such here in the state of New Mexico.
All right. So what happened?
Anyway, yeah. So I gathered by your reaction that when you said it took him X months. Because
he's your attorney that entire time, and so until he actually withdraws from the case, he is your attorney and he's responsible for doing everything in the case. And it sounds like he wasn't doing anything. So yeah, you probably have a valid complaint.
Exactly. Now you've hit onto something else. Is that I questioned him on the fact that he wasn't doing anything and had done nothing, et cetera, et cetera. His response to that was, quote, "There are no hearings scheduled in your case," end quote. And my response to him saying that was that the ball is in your court, sir. Nothing will happen in this case until you do something. The other side has what they want.
Well, he says as your attorney, he's obligated to do the things that you want him to do.
If there was something that needed to be done, it was his responsibility to do it. I don't know enough particulars about your case to say what that should have been. So.
But if you'd asked him to do something, in theory, he should have done that or resign. Thanks for the call, David. Appreciate it. More coming up here in moments. 855, 450, free like freedom. This is Free Talk Live.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Detoxify, lose weight, and restore balance to your body by simply drinking tea. Surprised? Dr. Miller's Holy Tea can help you feel better and even lose weight, because Holy Tea is a unique herbal tea blend of all natural ingredients specially formulated by Dr. Bill Miller. Call this number 888-660-7039 or click drmillersclinic.com. Take the first step toward better health. Drink tea from Dr. Miller's Clinic.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll free to join us. Here, you can bring up anything you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE, whether it's gun-free school zones or the Customs and Border Protection bureaucracy. With you tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And I want you to know that ForkFest 2019 is coming up. And it's coming up in about 4 months, as a matter of fact. If you go to forkfest.party, that's where you can learn more. Now, by the way, that is the unofficial website, because everything with ForkFest is unofficial, because there's no one who's in charge of ForkFest. It's just 5 days at a campground, beautiful campground, Rogers Campground, happens to be the same campground where PorkFest happens immediately after ForkFest. So ForkFest forked off from PorkFest, and so now there are two Liberty camping events that happen right alongside of one another. So ForkFest 2019 is June 13th through the 18th. The first day of PorkFest is June 18th. So as ForkFest is ending, PorkFest is beginning.
Do most people go to both?
Most people do not go to ForkFest because it's new, and most people don't even know it exists at this point.
Do most people who go to ForkFest stay for PorkFest?
I think so. There's a percentage of them who aren't into PorkFest because it's kind of like a centrally planned event, whereas ForkFest has no planners. ForkFest has no official planners. There are potentially unlimited number of planners because everybody can plan their own thing at ForkFest. So if there's, let's say, Laurel, you wanted to do a seminar on law, you could just go ahead and rent a tent or put up get a PA speaker or something like that and have yourself a seminar on law. You wanted to have a musical performance? Have a musical performance. And so people can kind of create the thing they want to do. One year, somebody threw a rave at ForkFest. This is going to be year number 3. There's been a party that happens on the last night of ForkFest that Jim Babb, who's a Free Talk Live listener, has thrown both years. So some things have happened both years, but it's just, who knows what people are going to create. I heard that Jay Noon, who's one of our Wednesday night co-hosts, is going to be doing what he calls Man Camp at PorkFest. Last year, Jay had his wedding at ForkFest.
Oh, great.
So there's, who knows what's going to be like in 2019, but now's the time when people are likely going to start planning these things. And ForkFest.party can connect you to our Telegram chat room, which, again, unofficial. You want to have your own Telegram chat room for ForkFest? Go right ahead. In fact, last year there were actually 2 different calendars that were tracking different things that were happening. Some of the things were on both calendars, but not everything was on both calendars. So it could be a little confusing, right? When there's
Why have 2 calendars if they say the exact same thing?
Well, there you go. Good point. Well, maybe one does it better than the other. Maybe one's prettier than the other, or it's easier to read. I don't know. Nobody's in charge, though, and that's what makes ForkFest different. ForkFest.party. There's a Telegram chat. There's a forum where you can interact with other potential and past and current ForkFesters there. And once again, it's June 13th through the 18th. Since there's no organizers, there's no tickets. So you don't have to pay a ticket price to get into ForkFest because there's no one going to be there to collect them. There's just nobody in charge. So you do have to obviously pay for your, whatever space you rent. So if you're going to have a campsite or you want to rent the hotel room on site, then that's up to you, and you got to do that separately with Rogers Campground. So whether you want to just show up and hang out with other liberty-minded people in the woods for 5 days, or you want to create things for those people to do, it is up to you at forkfest.party. You can go learn more about it there. Let's go to Sarah. She's in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Yes, so last year, 6,000 domestic violence victims were killed by their abusers, obviously using guns. So.
Okay. Victims were killed by their abusers, but how many abusers were killed by their victims?
Well, what I'm saying is that they used.
You didn't get that statistic,
huh? Violence. They had domestic violence, and they used guns to kill their victims.
Sure, but you didn't answer my question. What about the victims of domestic violence who turned the tide against their abuser and not necessarily killed the abuser, but stopped the abuse from transpiring by using a gun?
Well, I obviously do not know that.
You don't know that.
But
and here's something I'd like to add in here before you go on. One of the reasons why you don't know, besides the fact that you haven't researched it, but one of the other reasons why is it's hard to research this. Because in a lot of cases, if a gun owner stops a violent crime, whether it be domestic abuse or a robbery in the streets or home invasion, whatever it is we're talking about here, if they stop a violent crime with their gun, in many cases it goes unreported because you survived this, terrifying, traumatizing experience. The gun helped you equalize the odds in the situation. You scared off this criminal. You didn't actually shoot the person. It's a done deal. It's the end of the night. You're done. You want to go home. You don't want to go to the police department and spend a bunch of time filling out a report for some cops that probably aren't going to really investigate it that hard anyways. You're just wasting your time. So a lot of the time when somebody successfully uses a gun to protect themselves or someone else who's a stranger or their family members, it's just a success, and that's the end of it. There's no statistic about it. So anyway, go ahead with whatever you were going to say.
Yeah, that is correct. But
thanks.
Excuse me.
That's all right.
But our state did pass, from what I was told, that we did pass taking the guns away from domestic abusers.
You mean alleged domestic abusers or actual domestic abusers?
Well, actual. I mean, if you have domestic violence, okay, and you're threatening, you're assaulting.
But wait, you have to be clear here. You have to be clear because if you've been accused of domestic violence, that doesn't mean you've actually committed it. You have to be found guilty legally in order for you to be someone who commits domestic violence. But there are people who will get their guns taken away simply on the say-so of the alleged victim. Now, you don't think somebody should have their gun taken away just because somebody said they did something, do you?
Well, I'm sure that in our state case, you have to have solid evidence.
Are you sure?
Also, a lot of domestic violence laws are being expanded so that they include things very simple, like maybe a shove, not something extreme when it comes to domestic violence, something that the person should not have done, for sure, but something relatively simple like pushing the other person. Then they get a domestic violence conviction and they can't get a firearm in a lot of states, depending on the state.
Well, also don't forget that in a lot of states or cities or whatever, they have a mandatory arrest rule when it comes to so-called domestic violence. So if somebody calls the cops into a situation where domestic violence has allegedly occurred, there's no proof necessary. The cops just have to go ahead and pick one. They just have to choose to put somebody in handcuffs and take them away. They're obligated to do that. So it's usually one person's say-so over the other person's say-so, unless there's an obvious, bruise or something like that where you can see that some sort of thing has transpired.
Also, depending on what rules and regulations you're looking at, domestic violence can include things such as isolation and and things like emotional quote violence. So they're expanding
name calling?
Yeah, things if it makes you feel bad. So things that are not what you would typically think of as violence are now counting as domestic violence.
That's horrible, don't you think, Sarah?
Well, I am a woman, and so that, usually we don't report things and file things unless we do feel threatened. Now, as a man, you're a man, they say, well, they're just making things up because they hate me. A man could say that. But also...
Because it happens.
Our governor,
wait, what?
Well, our governor, by the way, she did the sit-down, the big protest of when she was a congresswoman up in Washington.
I don't even know who your governor is.
To be our governor. Well, I mean, they all sat on the floor and they wanted gun control when she was a congresswoman. You remember that?
No.
Well, she was
I don't pay attention to
all
D.C.
The Democrats. Well, I mean, they had to.
I certainly don't pay attention to New Mexico's governor.
Also, the domestic violence of women on men is underreported. It's high. It's underreported because the men are afraid that if they call the police, the woman will then accuse him of domestic violence, which is often what happens.
That's one reason why they might not want to call the cops. Mm-hmm. Another reason is just because, it's sort of like the societal position of the man to not report those things.
A lot of men are killed by their wives and girlfriends.
Thank you, Sarah, for the call tonight. Domestic violence is definitely an issue between both of the genders. It's Free Talk Live.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you could move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose.
And here's Mike's best offer ever. MyPillow is now offering 50% off their 4-pack special plus free shipping. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-951-5617 and use promo code FTL. That's 50% off plus free shipping. Don't delay. Order now.
Know someone with a drinking or drug problem? Learn how to get sober after we share these stories.
I was 35 with 2 beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. After my divorce, I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often and using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me.
I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could quit on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please, don't wait. Your life matters to us. 800-213-9264. 800-213-9264. 800-213-9264. Call right now before it's too late. 800-213-9264.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Moments remain. There's enough time for you. If you dial in right now, our number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. They're open and available to you over at discord.lrn.fm. So feel free to join us there, and you can call in about anything that you want. It's good to be back after almost 2 weeks in Acapulco. Anarchapulco was a great event, and we talked a lot to the attendees and the speakers at the event over the weekend, and that reminds me, I've got I think 10 bonus interviews to be putting into our podcast, so you're going to get more Anarchapulco interviews over the next couple weeks as I'll add them into the end of our show. So if you're a radio listener and you want to hear more from Acapulco, you won't hear it on the radio. You'll have to go and listen to our podcast or download our archive over at freetalklive.com. That'll be one way for you to get that information. It was a great event, good speakers, good vibe. People are already planning for 2020, and I said I would mention on the air that when we knew more about what they're going to be doing in 2020, and they do have the 2020 early bird tickets available already. So I think actually at this point, they don't even know when the dates are going to be. So they're just saying, hey, if you want to get the best price possible on Anarchapulco 2020, and I don't know if our code works. I haven't even checked that yet. But right now they're selling them for $345, and the regular price was close to $600. So you just don't know when it's going to be. So if you're flexible, right? Like if you want to go to this event and you don't really care when it is and you want to get the best price, then go to anarchapulco.com/2020, and that will take you right to the pre-order page. So very, very cool, great event, and I think 2020 is going to be even bigger. And kudos to Ron Paul for showing up and being awesome at this event. I can't say enough about Ron Paul coming in despite apparently a campaign to try to get the speakers of Anarchapulco to not show up.
Was he one of your interviews?
No, we didn't interview Ron Paul. But we have interviewed him in the past.
Okay.
So he's been on Free Talk Live. If you go to our guests page on freetalklive.com, so just go to guests.freetalklive.com. I don't remember if it was 2012 Ron Paul or 2008, but at some point during I think one of his presidential campaigns, we did have Ron Paul on. But we got to see him. We got to shake his hand and take pictures with him. So that was fun. He just kind of took his sweet time getting into the auditorium where he was speaking.
He just seems like a nice guy.
He was so nice and so gracious to all of his fans. I mean, really, he's a great example to people. I mean, he's a great example on how to be gracious to people. He's a great example on how to be principled as a libertarian and how to stick to your principles. The Libertarian Party would be great if they could find a candidate as principled as Ron Paul. Unfortunately, they haven't come close. So again, anarchapulco.com/2020 if you want to get your early bird tickets. And I don't know, try the code. Maybe it'll work. I haven't, like I said, I haven't even. It was giving a discount during 2019. It wouldn't surprise me if it's not active, because we haven't made an official deal with Anarchapulco for 2020 as of yet. But I would expect that we will be there because we've been there for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's been great. So 855-450-FREE is our toll-free number. Since we were talking about Customs and Border Patrol, let's see. Here's the rest of that story that I brought up earlier about the 29,000 devices that were searched. So 50% more electronic device searches were conducted in 2017 than they were in 2016. And again, if you're just tuning in, if you missed the discussion, we got into detail about how I was detained for 3 hours for one of these searches, 2 of these searches actually, early this morning at JFK Airport in New York. Up from 29,000 devices in 2017, up from 18,400 in 2016. And this was out of 397 million travelers in 2017 versus 390 million. So similar numbers of travelers. So it's a very small percentage of the travelers. I think it's like 0.006 or something
but
like
this
that.
really, they shouldn't be searching any electronic devices.
No.
Because I can understand they want to make sure people aren't bringing in fruits and vegetables and animal products because they can sometimes contain things that are going to destroy our crops. That's actually very carefully controlled, and there's reasoning behind that. I can understand them not wanting people to bring in, if they're getting on a plane in the U.S., something that could explode it. I can exactly. Sort of understand that. There are some things that they want to stop the trade in because there's endangered animals like ivory. Okay, so I understand all these things. For the electronic stuff, if there's some secret information or anything, they should be able to, like, if you want to get it from one country or to another, you send it electronically. It doesn't have to be, carried in a device across the border.
That's the dumbest way you could possibly move something across borders.
Exactly. So looking in people's electronic devices does not make the country safer. It just invades people's privacy.
Yeah, it's just a straight up privacy invasion. And you're absolutely right. Anybody who's a serious terrorist who wants to get information from one terrorist cell to another is going to do it encrypted over an electronic means to where the government won't even have any idea that the file has been transferred because it's completely out of their purview. The only person that this kind of search is going to catch is the dummy, right? The person who's completely ignorant of anything. They're not a terrorist. Maybe they have some sort of porn on their computer that's illegal in, the country or whatever. You're going to catch somebody who's got a perversion or whatever. Oh, no, you've really got a bad guy now, right? Like, that's all you're going to get out of something like this is either somebody who's so absent-minded that they didn't, that they left something incriminating about themselves on a device that they're carrying across the border, or they didn't even, think at all in the first place. The Department of Homeland Security of the Inspector General report concluded that many of these electronic device searches, by the way, this is thehill.com, were conducted improperly without
kidding.
Yeah, without adequate supervision. They wouldn't let me watch the second time this morning, or adherence to pre-existing policies. And there's a great article from the EFF that really gets into detail about these searches and why they're unconstitutional. And maybe I can share that later this week, but it's way too long for right now. Officers sometimes failed to adequately document these searches, leading to gaps in information available about how they were conducted and what they found on the devices, according to the report. There were also multiple instances in which officers failed to take the devices offline before searching them, a violation of the security protocol that requires internet access to be disabled during electronic searches. So that's a little bit of good news in this nasty situation with these searches, meaning that if they take your phone from you, Laurel, and you let them into it, because again, you can choose not to, and then they just will take your phone probably forever. So if you let them into it, they are only supposed to search what's on the phone, meaning they're not supposed to go into your email. They're not supposed to go into your, whatever it is that's on the cloud, like your Google Docs or something like that, right? So they're only supposed to look at the photos or the files that are stored on the phone. But here they're saying that, well, they didn't turn the phone off. They didn't disconnect the radio on the phone, right? So it still has the ability to transmit.
Airplane mode.
So that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to put it in airplane mode. And actually, when I received my phone back from them today, it was in airplane mode. So, I mean, that suggests that they were following the rules, but I don't actually know because I didn't get to watch it happen. Right. The OIG report recommends the Office of Field Operations more thoroughly document searches, consistently turn off internet access before the search, renew equipment, ensure travelers' information is deleted from thumb drives after searches, and develop a better system to assess the electronic devices program. CPB agreed to all of the recommendations and said they've already made progress on some of them. This report was filed by the Hill in December of last year. But there's another report saying that Customs apparently, this is from nextgov.com, over 2 years searched more than 47,400 electronic devices, but failed often to delete travelers' information from portable drives, according to the Inspector General's investigation. So they downloaded information from these phones. They're supposed to delete it after they've conducted the search, but oopsie, they just forgot. How did that get there? Oh, silly absent-minded CPB professionals. We just totally forgot. Or CBP professionals. We forgot about it. It wasn't our intention. We weren't actually trying to store this information about you. It was just an oopsie. You believe that, right?
See, for the audience, Ian and I disagree a little bit on government. Ian would like to get rid of government. I think that it should be limited. I don't want to get rid of it.
I want to get rid of coercion.
However, and I'm not against CBP, but they do have too much power at the airports. This is excessive. We should be endeavoring to limit government whenever we can, and this would be a good example. There's people just not doing their jobs, and it's really infringing on the privacy for people.
All right, out of time for tonight, but maybe tomorrow we'll talk about the migrant that died in Border Patrol custody in Texas. Another one.
Mm-hmm.
More coming up here tomorrow. Meantime, freetalklive.com. Join us there.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Gold opened the day at $1,332. Silver opened at $15.84. And Bitcoin is trading around $3,932. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, journalists and advocates of press freedoms are once again directing outrage and criticism at Facebook for selectively censoring pages on its platform and refusing to explain the reason behind a decision that appears to many as a clear double standard applied to outlets critical of U.S. foreign policy and corporate interests. Activist Post reports that Facebook is under fire for shuttering 4 pages managed by the Berlin-based news and media company Mavic, after CNN reporters asked the social media giant about Mavic, not disclosing that it's partly funded by the Russian government. In an interview with CNN, Mavic Chief Operating Officer J. Ray Sparks emphasized that Mavic is editorially independent from Russia Today, which the U.S. government has forced to register as a foreign agent, and pointed out that it's standard industry practice to not disclose ownership of a media producer on a Facebook page. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% off your purchase by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. Find us online at snls.news and libertybeat.news. Your news now continues. It's been 3 weeks since the Houston Police Department fabricated information